Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. I went to go see Prey last night. Talk about good stuff. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Sitting right beside me, writer, director, producer, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
John, it's Tuesday, which is Physical Media Day. It's a joy you don't understand, but oh man, what is with you people? But there was I had to leave abruptly this morning, and there's Amazon packages on my doorstep. I got a picture. I don't even know what I ordered.
That's awesome. Tomorrow, do you celebrate Rotary Phone Day? Is that a big one in the Myers household? Just.
That's actually. I got to give it up. That was quite a good joke. Quite a good joke. I give it up to you. See, this is the abuse I take right here between these two.
But also help me out though, because you would know the answer to this. What traditionally is like comic drop day? Was that not all Tuesdays?
It was
that was Wednesdays.
Yeah,
okay, I thought. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. Good to know.
But they changed it around. So Tuesday is the day that books, media, movies, but then they changed like CD drops to Friday. It's
I'm not into that. It's Friday.
Very complicated. I like one day. Give me one
What's a
day.
CD?
No, but even just new albums on Spotify, they come out on Fridays now instead of Tuesdays.
And of course, sitting beside Rob is the ever snarky Chris Carr. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Today is the day that my voiceover group meets up, so I'm really looking forward to hanging out with some VO kids tonight.
And sitting over there, joining you guys in the live chat as always, the upcoming recipient of a new hot toy, Ray Ora. Ray, how you doing?
Stay out of that gang life, Chris.
But the gang life chose me.
And sitting beside Ray, producer, running the show today, Jonathan Voico. Jonathan, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, thank you. And guys, it is great to have you here. Here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it down into two parts. In the first half of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. And in the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, the way you get a live comment or question read on the show is, number one, you got to be watching live. Number two, when we get to the end of the main topics, we will announce that we're opening up the super chats. At that point, be ready with your super chats to fire in your thoughts, opinions, theories, questions, whatever, and we will read those off in the second half of the show. Just to give you guys a little bit of housekeeping here, if you need your daily fix of the John Campea Show, but you can't be in front of a YouTube video, maybe you're commuting or at work, good news. There's an audio-only version of our show simply called the John Campea Show Podcast. Go find it on your favorite podcasting app of choice and subscribe to it today. And also, we have a secondary podcast feed that's just for our mailbag show, so go and subscribe to that as well. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into a couple of off-the-tops here, shall we? And our first one is this. You know, Netflix has a long and proud tradition of putting out crappy movies. And with the odd exception, actually, every once in a while, they put out something that's really quite good. You know, you think of something like The Irishman, you think of something like Old Guard, and they put a couple of really, really good ones. They put one out recently that's not all that hot. It's not all that terrible, but not all that hot, in The Gray Man, of course, starring good Canadian kid Ryan Gosling and honorary good Canadian kid, Bostonian Chris Evans, who, quite frankly, rocks in that movie. He really does. He's great in it. And it's all right. I mean, it got very, very mixed reviews. It's pretty much divided 50-50 of critics who liked it or critics who didn't like it. I thought it was all right. I thought it was okay, but did not live up to the potential that movie had. At any rate, you know what Netflix does with movies that they spent a lot of money on and put big stars on and weren't all that good? They make sequels. And The Gray Man is no exception. The Hollywood Reporter today is reporting to us that The Gray Man, Netflix has greenlit a Gray Man, not only a sequel, they're creating a Gray Man cinematic universe because they've greenlit a sequel with Ryan Gosling and they've greenlit some spinoffs. And the first spinoff, although we know nothing about it, is going to be written by Deadpool writers, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who are going to write that as well. These are the two busiest writers in Hollywood. They're writing like 85 projects right now.
Is it just going to follow Chris's mustache?
Yes. After the death of, Chris Evans' character, the mustache reanimates to light and vows revenge. Revenge for the death of Chris Evans. I got to tell you this. Every time you think Netflix might start to be turning it around, like, hey, they only lost 1 million subscribers instead of the 2 million they thought they're going to lose. Stocks are still terrible, but they rebounded a bit. So what do? Let's instead of making good quality content, let's double down on this. I don't listen. I'd be lying to you though if I said that I wouldn't watch a sequel to it. I would. I thought the action was quite good. You got, I love Ryan Gosling, so I would probably check it out. But this was the most expensive movie they've ever made, Rob. Like, why not take that $200 million, make 4 really good $50 million movies? I mean, again, though, they greenlit sequels to Red Notice, so I'm not really surprised. What do you think about this movie? Are you surprised at all?
Yeah, I am. I mean, on one hand, they must have got a lot of viewers over the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's only been on Netflix for not even a week yet, and they greenlit a whole cinematic universe?
Well, I've got news flash for you, though. They greenlit a cinematic universe, like, ages ago.
John, I have to tell you, this morning they put up a trailer for the new Kevin Hart movie.
Me Time.
And against my better judgment, Mark Wahlberg, I kind of laughed my ass off.
I thought the trailer was quite good, but I have no doubt it's not going to be a good movie. But the trailer was pretty good.
But now hearing this, looking at Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart, I think they could probably make a much cheaper series of sequels to The Gray Man, and you could start with The Black Man and The White Man and use Kevin Hart and use Mark Wahlberg as the opposite sides of The Gray Man and get the whole spectrum.
Then you do a whole Reservoir Dogs. You get Mr. Pink, Mr. Brown. You start working in the entire rainbow colors.
I think that
just like your shirt.
I think exactly, and I think that why not? And why then? Why? Well, I was thinking in terms of no color yet. Then the colors, the cinematic universe. So you have the whole shades of gray.
So instead of 007 and 006, you have fuchsia, purple, red, blue,
and you
black,
and then go international.
Wow.
So then you know how you have those Playtone. Is it Pantone when they have the different color
Pantone,
spectrums?
yeah.
Pantone colors. Mm-hmm. You go from white to black. Then you've got the different color spectrums and different shades of red all the way down, and different shades of green, and different shades of yellow. And you could do this for years, John. Years. But I have to say, Me Time I laughed like 6 times in that trailer.
This tells you about how excited we are about the Gray Man sequel. We're spending all of our time talking about Me Time.
I thought we were talking about the Gray Man.
I know, but that was another Netflix thing, and that was actually a Netflix trailer for a movie that I actually laughed out loud in the trailer. I don't know. I love Kevin Hart. Like I will watch.
I'm gonna have to dig out the lasso and drag you back on topic here for a little bit.
So the Gray Man. I mean, I'm sorry. I just want to see the Mark Wahlberg, Kevin Hart movie. But look, the thing about the Gray Man is, why do they have to spend so much money? Like, why don't they take a page from, say, the Book of John Wick, where you don't need to spend $200 million? When you're watching that film, why does Netflix have to spend? That's part of their problem. They've now made 2 movies for a total combined budget of $420 million between Red Notice, which they reported at $200 million, and Gray Man at $220. Like, how many more interesting movies could you make for $420 million? Yeah. And when I was watching, look, I don't think that the reason I bring up the Kevin Hart movie was, if you look at the Kevin Hart, Mark Wahlberg movie, and then you look at a $220 million movie like The Gray Man, which one of those 2 movies would have more wide appeal and bring in subscribers to Netflix? I mean, how are they defining? Are they defining subscribers by money? Like, I don't understand their business model. And that they're spending, and then what they spent on Knives Out. I mean, that's an incredible amount of money, and you're only getting 2, 3, 4 products for that, so you're averaging out an enormous spend.
Chris, you hear that they're going to do a Gray Man sequel and a Gray Man cinematic universe. What do you think about it?
Why are they doing that? Where's the money coming from? Where is this money coming from? Because they are just circling the drain. I know the stock isn't as bad as it's been of late, but still, I'm just wondering where all the money is. And when you look at this budget, this $200 million budget, that's about $70 million less than the entire season of Stranger Things season 4, which had essentially 2 feature films in it.
Yeah,
right.
So why wouldn't you go back to making more quality television? They've canceled so many shows, right? Too, that they've gone, oh, people love this, people think this is great, Santa Clarita Diet, things like that, and they scrap those. But then movies that are just kind of they greenlight and give these bombastic budgets to. I don't understand the business principals over at Netflix right now. I want someone to explain to me what choices are losing out to these.
I read that they lost, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, but I read that they lost from when they were peaking at like $690 a share. They have lost over $200 billion in market valuation. Over 200 billion. Well done. Let's give it up to Ned.
But I mean, John, it doesn't surprise me because if you look at what they paid for, it was $450 million for two Knives Out movies.
But at least then you could say those were that's an Oscar nominated franchise that maybe could bring in a lot of new subscribers.
True.
Maybe.
True, but if you look at $450 million plus Red Notice plus Gray Man,
you're getting close to $1 billion.
$1 billion, and that's
four
four
films.
movies.
Yeah.
And I, in what universe does that kind of spend work?
All right, guys, question is for you. They're making a Gray Man cinematic universe. What do you think? Hey, listen, like I said, the reviews were split, so you may be one of the half that quite liked it. Maybe you're one of the half that didn't. What do you think about this? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. Okay, guys, with that down, let's do another off the top, and that is this. You know, there's a little movie coming out that a lot of us, including me, was asking, why are they making this? Which was a new Predator movie set in the early 1700s where a predator is hunting like a Native American tribe. And you're like, well, that seems drastically unfair. And why are they making this? But then, you know, we started to hear some stuff come out that the studio was actually really happy with it. And then a couple of days ago, they did a screening for it at Comic-Con. And last night in Burbank, they did even though this is going to be a Hulu movie, they did an in-theater press screening for it in Burbank that I went to. And the reactions are now out. And we've kind of alluded to this in the last couple of days, but the reactions have been fantastic. So I went to go see it myself last night. And some of you might have seen, I did a right out of the theater quick reaction to it. All my doubts aside, this movie's great. This is great. This is the first time that I have come out of a Predator movie since the original and thought to myself, that was a great movie. Wow. I know Predator 2 has its fans, but I never thought Predator 2 was great. I thought the Adrian Brody Predator movie were on the Game Reserve planet. That wasn't bad. I actually didn't mind that one. Then Shane Black, who I love Shane Black, and so I was super excited about his Predators movie, and that was a massive disappointment. Let's not even talk about Alien versus Predators. So I went into this and I watched this, and I, like all the doubts I had, I'm just watching it. Like, within the first 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm in. It's a movie about a girl and her dog. I mean, really, when you break it down, it's a movie about a girl and her dog. But it's thrilling. The tension is great. I mean, it's not Jordan Peele tension, but the tension is great. The action is good. It's horrific in some ways, but you get really attached to your core character through it as well. And by the end of the film, like the credits roll. And like my wife, Ann, came with me. Never seen a Predator movie. Never seen a single one. And she's like, that was great. And I'm like, I'm so glad. She goes, I don't like the Predator design though. Did they change that from the original? I'm like, no, baby, that's the way they look. Well, it doesn't look great, but the movie was great. Okay, so okay, fantastic. So the movie's great. I want to read off some of the reactions that the movie has been getting here. We're going to start off one with Perry Nemiroff. Of course, our friend Perry wrote, Prey is my favorite Predator movie.
Wow.
She's right. Coming from someone who is a big fan of the original and also 2010's Predators, love how the story is deeply personal journey, one powered by...
Comanche?
No, my thing has gone blank. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get it. Sorry, it's one of those things where the little link to the tweet is there and it's supposed to expand.
I have it on the screen.
So, anyway, so let's keep moving on. Drew Taylor writes, Prey slays. Is that a thing? Danny has crafted a whip-smart reinvention of the franchise and a moving, elegantly photographed coming of age. I'm so glad he mentioned that. It's gorgeous. The movie's beautiful. I mean, the use of landscaping, it's very Peter Jackson-ish, the way he would utilize the landscapes of New Zealand and Lord of the Rings. I'm not saying it's on the same level,
Right.
I'm just saying it's very Peter Jackson-ish, right? So that was like really beautiful. Jermaine Lucier, a friend of ours, writes, Prey is as worthy and badass a Predator movie as we've seen since the original. Beautifully shot, tightly written, excellent characters, and some of the grossest, most wildly entertaining sci-fi action in the franchise. It's exciting, fun, powerful, and I cannot wait to watch it again. And I echo those sentiments. I cannot wait to watch it again.
Why do you think that they decided not to put it theatrically? Because Shane Black's the underperformance of the Predator?
That is 100% right. You are 100% right. Like because listen, I just said, right? When they announced this movie, all of us, including me, was going, why? Why are you making this? Didn't we learn our lesson? Didn't we learn our lesson from the last one? It's time to move. Like you can't make these work. These aren't going to be good, right? And that's exactly why they didn't put this on the big screen. Why they didn't put it in theaters. And I get it. I do. I get it because I had no interest in it. I don't think there's many people who had a lot of interest in this. And if they had done a theatrical release of this and spent an additional $25 million on marketing and all that kind of stuff, I don't know that they would have gotten their investment back. So this is one of those things where they looked at it and probably said, you know what? This is quite good. It deserves to get a chance. So let's at least put it up on Hulu. But I'll tell you what, if they make a sequel to this, they will put it in theaters. I think if they make a sequel to this, I think they will put it in theaters. So and again, we can't give a full reaction. A full review. I'm just telling you my instant reaction. I think it's great. That's all I'm doing. I'm not going to talk about any of the plot. I'm not going to talk about the progression of the movie. We'll save all that for a full review next week. But the reactions to this movie have been fantastic, and I've been loving it too. Have you guys been hearing from anybody who saw it at Comic-Con or anything like that?
No, but I'm excited about it. When we first talked about it, it was on a Batman Beyond day, and I was pretty upset about, like, this doesn't seem fair. And Jonathan pointed out, well, if you go back to the first Predator, what took the Predator down and everything, right? So I'm interested to see how all this pans out, especially with the kind of Jackson-esque kind of filmmaking going on here. That sounds exciting.
When I was at Comic-Con on Sunday, I heard nothing but great things from multiple people about this movie. And everyone was surprised, like you. Like, wow, this was really good. Like, not just...
Yeah, surprised. I was very surprised.
It's like, not just a good Predator movie, it could very well be the best Predator movie.
That's what some people... Like, I'm not willing to go that far, but there are a number of people who think it might even exceed the first one. By the way, go back to that last image you just had up there, Jonathan, if you can find it. So... I've been hearing from a lot of people, and it's a totally valid question, that are going, how can a 115-pound girl with a bow and arrow try to fight a technologically advanced 750-pound predator? And that is a totally valid question to ask. It totally is. I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you I thought that question myself. A friend of mine kind of turned around to me and goes, okay, let's go back to the first Predator. How can a 240-pound human with archaic weaponry compared to the Predator fight a 750-pound Predator with super advanced weapons? All I will tell you is this. I had that same question myself going to this movie, and they manage it beautifully.
Awesome.
But also in the trailer, they've been fighting off these huge bears, right, in the wilderness. I mean, it's almost
but there's
like
a
the
difference
same
between
thing.
a bear and a sci-fi, highly advanced technological civilization that's
Right.
there to hunt you. But again, the way they execute in the movie, it's airtight. It's absolutely airtight.
Let me ask you this. Does it bother you then when you watch this movie that the Predator technology hasn't advanced in 300 years? Between this
I
movie
think
and
it has.
Okay. Okay, good.
I think it has.
That's good to know.
Again, I'm not going to say anything else.
All right.
But,
I'm excited about that because that was the big question that I had.
yeah, I really like this. So the reactions to it have been good. Listen, all I can tell you guys is that this was a movie that I was going, why are they making this? And I walked out of that theater a total believer. Anyway, guys, questions for you. What do you think about this? Have you been hearing reactions from it? What have your expectations been of the movie? Are you planning on checking it out when it drops on Hulu? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. Before we move on to our next story, we're going to take a second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode, the folks at Peacock and their upcoming series, The Resort. We want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's episode, the new Peacock series, The Resort. In Peacock's must-see new series, there's more than just trouble in paradise. There's a flip phone, a disappearance, and a suspiciously timed hurricane. The Resort, a new Peacock original from the creators of Palm Springs and Mr. Robot, is an unexpected exploration of how love, marriage, and family can be a real trip. When a couple finds an old flip phone in the jungle on an anniversary getaway, they are unknowingly pulled into an unsolved mystery, a bizarre case that went cold 15 years prior when a once-in-a-century storm wiped away all evidence. This journey through the Mayan Riviera will take you from the edge of your seat to the depths of human experience and back again. Starring William Jackson Harper, Kristen Milioti, Luis Gerardo Mendez, and Nick Offerman, The Resort is streaming July 28th only on Peacock. And a big thank you to the folks at Peacock and their show, The Resort, for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's do one more off the top, and that is this. You know, we talked yesterday, we're going to talk about the Black Panther trailer a little bit more later on in the show today. But, you know, of course, the Black Panther trailer dropped at Comic-Con. We're all excited. And one of the things that they did was they decided to keep hidden, at least for the first trailer. They're going to reveal it later. But they decided to keep hidden the identity of the new Black Panther. In the movie and toy world, there's a long and proud tradition of toy companies spoiling some big details about movies that are upcoming when images and descriptions of their toys come out before the movies come out, kind of sometimes giving away a lot of things. And it looks like that might be the case right now. Now, we are not going to show any images here, but here's the basic gist of it. Some images from an upcoming Black Panther Wakanda Forever Lego set have now come out online. And Jonathan just put up the spoilers thing there, because we're about to get into something that could be considered spoilers. So be aware, we're about to talk about some things that are leaking out there. So we'll, as long as we're talking, this graphic will stay up as long as we're talking about something that could be considered spoilery, okay? So in case you haven't seen these images or don't want to know about the images that are flying around online now. So in these images, they appear to reveal the identity of Black Panther. They appear to reveal the identity of who Black Panther is. And I will tell you that going into Black Panther, when you look at the cast list and the list of characters, all of them I think there's a good argument for. M'Baku is a logical choice to be Black Panther. Okoye, the most fierce warrior in Wakanda, clearly a good choice for Black Panther. Nakia, the international operative warrior who the queen herself said, you should take the flower-shaped herb and become, Black Panther and defend Wakanda now. She would have been a great choice. The only character, a character I love, by the way, probably my top 3 or 4 favorite MCU characters, but the only character in Black Panther that I did not think should at all, because it makes no narrative sense for them to be Black Panther, is Shuri. Again, one of my maybe 3 to 5, maybe top 3 to 5 favorite MCU characters. I love the Shuri character. Love her. And it looks like, in these images, looks like Shuri's the next Black Panther. Which is dumb. When you got Nakia and Okoye and M'Baku and all these characters that are warriors and all this kind of stuff, or the least combat trained book nerd out of the entire bunch, I am not going to lie to you. In as much excitement as that trailer generated for me, this almost killed all of it for me personally. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to see the movie, and I'm absolutely going to see the movie. And if they come up with a great narrative, first of all, we don't know 100% for sure that it is Shuri. These images that have come out seem to suggest that it's Shuri. And I'm going to go see the movie anyway. And maybe I'll go, wow, just like we were just talking about Prey, right? I'm like, why are they making this movie? And I went to go see it. I went, that's why you made this movie. I may go into Black Panther and go, man, it was a stupid decision to make Shuri Black Panther. And hopefully I'll come out and go, the way they did it, the way they executed it, totally worked. Just like what happened with me with Prey, right? But it looks like it's going to be Shuri. To me, it's the dumbest decision they could make. But again, I'm saying that as somebody that has not read the script. I haven't read the script. So I'm saying this is a dumb decision without actually knowing the movie, but I'm just giving you my reaction, my thoughts. So my reaction and thoughts is they picked the one character that I didn't think they should choose. Out of all the characters they could have picked, they picked the one character I don't think they should have picked. But hey, they know the movie. I don't yet. And maybe I'll totally change my mind once I see the film. Totally open to that. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that a lot of the wind has been taken out of my sails for my excitement of this film right now. By the way, there's also a Lego set of Namor's Megalodon jawed throne room. Looks pretty damn good. Very excited about that. Anyway, Chris, you've seen the images. You're hearing about this again. We want to qualify that we don't 100% know that it's going to be Shuri. It appears from the images that it is. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it makes sense to a degree, right? Keeping it in the family. This is what happened in the comics too, back in 2009.
Yeah, that's a big thing. It is what happened in the comics.
In that storyline, Dr. Doom put T'Challa in a coma. Shuri takes up the mantle temporarily, right? Obviously, we are looking for a permanent Black Panther here, though. And that's not to say Shuri will be the permanent Black Panther.
Exactly.
One of the things I do find interesting about this choice is Shuri's about 16 in the original Black Panther film, right? So it does mash up with a lot of the younger heroes stepping in, right? Because we've got Peter, we've got Kate, we've got Florence Pugh's character, whose name I am totally blanking on right now. Yes, thank you, Elena. So we have all the kind of young Avengers characters coming in. So that could fit that kind of phase of Marvel as well. I really wanted it to be Nakia. I really, really did, because I love Lupita Nyong'o so much. But we'll see how this all pans out.
Rob, you hear about this? What are your thoughts?
Well, I echo Chris's sentiments that this does have precedent in the comics. And I think that there's probably more that's going to happen as a result of this. So I'm curious to see. Look, I have to say, I was so intrigued by the trailer.
It was so good.
It looks like
Beautiful.
there's so much going on. So, and I think there's probably a lot of stuff in transition in this movie. So I think we're going to see a lot of people on a lot of different journeys. So I would imagine I could see Shuri being Black Panther when this movie opens, like in the wake of
and then
what
somebody
happened.
else has the mantle by the end of it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that did go through my mind, is that we could be seeing, like, the Lego set, if we're seeing what we think we're seeing, that can be a moment in the movie that maybe she takes up the man. I mean, hey, listen, if you turned into the old Adam West Batman show at the right particular time, you're going to see Alfred dressed up in the Batman costume. That doesn't mean Alfred is the new Batman, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we will see different people at different times in the Black Panther
and I
outfit.
think that's all part of the whole journey of this movie. And also, come on, that picture right there, what a badass. It's funny to me because I have a Shuri hot toy figure, probably not surprising.
Of course you do.
I've had her sitting on the throne. I have the throne of Wakanda as well. I've had her sitting on the throne of Wakanda for the last couple of years. So I kind of feel vindicated.
Ooh.
I mean, but I think this image is my exact problem with the idea of her being Black Panther. Pointing a weapon at somebody and firing it is all she can do. I mean, she is, according to her, again, we're not talking about the comics, we're talking about the movie, right?
Yeah.
In Black Panther, she just lives in the lab. That's what she does. She lives in the lab. She is a tech nerd, which is part of the reason why she's a top 5 favorite MCU character of mine. She's super smart. They said she's the smartest character in the MCU.
Right.
Now, this is prior to Reed Richards coming in, but Kevin Feige has said that Shuri is the smartest person in the MCU. And so I just can't. That's great, because in the movie, though, when it came time for action, she could point her blasters that she designed. By the way, how awesome do those blasters
So
look?
cool.
All
Those are
shaped
awesome.
like the Panther and everything.
Yeah.
And shoot. But once somebody gets closer, she's got to fight somebody. She just gets her ass kicked, right? I'm like, when you've got Nakia and Okoye and M'Baku and all these characters, it seems weird to me. But I like this idea that they could transition it throughout.
Oh,
Can
that
I
might
play
be part
devil's
of.
advocate on this, though?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I would submit Tony Stark was not a fighter either and had no formal training. And just like Black Panther, he had a suit. And we don't know if she's going to get any special powers from the flowers or whatever. And Pepper Potts had no formal training either as a fighter. So there is precedent.
I know, but it's lame precedent. I mean, what I'd say about Tony Stark, though, Tony Stark basically, he just pointed remember, he's a weapons designer. So he pointed his weapons in the first, there's not a lot of hand-to-hand combat with Iron Man until we get really into Civil War, when him and Cap go toe-to-toe. And even then, a lot of it was just him firing off his blasters at people. But I mean, yeah, What's up, Ray?
Oh, well, I just want to say, like, from the trailer, I'm just going to take it from how I see it. It looks like she's going to have a lot of internal conflict with losing her brother.
Well, it looks like all of them are having a lot of internal
But
conflict.
it's something that pushes her to take that suit in the end when they're desperate and they need something. That's the way I see it, because
That could be
that,
too.
No, I
there's
get
that
the
shot-
motivation,
there's
but
that-
there's a difference between motivation and ability. Just because she's really motivated to take up the mantle, she still can't fight.
I will say I'm a firm believer when someone is pushed to their limits, they could do amazing things. Like when they're in desperation, like that mom picking up that car to save someone, like in the news. I mean, there's some certain things that can happen. I mean, we have a suit, an incredible suit that could do wonders in
For
battle.
sure.
But again,
But
you've
you-
got Nakia,
Well, and
who
you-
is an international warrior and was his queen. You have Okoye, who's the fiercest warrior. And of course, you saw in Infinity War, like when T'Challa dies, that wrecked Okoye, right? And we never even got to see Nakia's emotional response. That's the love of her life and all that kind of stuff. But again, if it's a transitional thing, it could be effective.
And
Unless, go ahead.
if it is her taking on a suit, I think they would power her up. There'd be training, there'd be the flower-shaped herb and everything, because you'd have Riri then too, right? You don't want to have two women who are in super suits and that's how they get their power, right? Two super geniuses using a suit to enable them. I think this will be part of the narrative of her dealing with familial duty and her own hopes and dreams. She set up that center in Oakland. She wants to better the community in a different way. So maybe this is just a temporary thing for her.
Also, she probably did have wouldn't everybody in Wakanda get some kind of formal fight training as
if
they
you
grew
figure
up?
stuff
Again,
out
but that's
by
the thing.
combat.
So she's just another Wakandan. Like, whereas T'Challa was born, bred, raised, trained from birth to be king and Black Panther, she spent her time wisely becoming the smartest person in the world and living in a lab.
Or all these people could be taken out if they really do go to war with quote unquote Atlantis.
Which we'll talk about a little bit later.
But maybe she had to become Black Panther because everyone else was
But
incapacitated.
if you had to become Bruce Lee tomorrow, you couldn't.
no,
Neither
but if
could
if I took the super flower.
Well, I
maybe
mean, the
could-
flower gives, I mean, yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the
say-
training
I will say,
of the power.
nobody knows that suit better than the person who designed it.
It's true.
So-
it's true.
I don't know.
But it's still just a suit. Look, again, I am doing all of my whining and complaining about this, having not read the script.
Right.
Right. And once I read the script or once I see the movie, listen, in Ryan Coogler, I trust. Ryan Coogler, the director of Fruitvale Station, of Creed, of the first Black Panther, I trust him. So right now, to me, this is the worst decision they could have made. But once I see the movie or once I read a script, like has happened many, many times before for all of us as film fans, we see it and then we go, oh, I see what they're getting there. And listen, that's the one thing about this. I trust Ryan Coogler completely as a filmmaker. So let's see where they're going to go with this. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Have you seen the images yet? If so, do you think that is what the images are showing? It kind of seems that way. And even if so, do you think that's what it's going to be? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, with that down, let's move into our main topics here today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics here in the show? Well, that's easy. You guys come up with them. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic here in the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on The John Campea Show. With that down, Chris, what is our first main topic today?
This is from Ro Alpha Tau. Hey, John and crew. It is now being reported by Variety that a new Eragon series is in the works with Bert Salke as executive producer. What are your thoughts now that this reboot seems to be happening? Do you think Rings of Power and House of the Dragon had anything to do with it? It's a great time for fantasy nerds. Let us know your thoughts.
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, very popular book series. The Eragon series came out, and it was so popular, they decided to make a movie out of it. They got the great Jeremy Irons to be in that movie. Actually, I'm trying to think of who, I almost said Chiwetel Ejiofor, not Chiwetel Ejiofor. He's the wizard in
Djimon
Shazam.
Hounsou.
Djimon Hounsou, thank you. I think Djimon Hounsou was in it too, wasn't it? Or I might be thinking of a different film. Anyway, it's a very forgettable movie because it was terrible. Yeah. The Eragon movie was absolutely awful. And it's a great example of they planned to do the sequel because of the end with John Malkovich with his dragon. So clearly they're getting ready to do a sequel. The plan was to do the trilogy, but as Mike Tyson gloriously said, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And Eragon punched itself in the mouth. It was a terrible movie, and it killed it and all that kind of stuff. Questions have come up on the show over the years asking, do you think they can go back and do Eragon again? And I've always said, I have my doubts because the stench of the failure of that movie lingers and it endures like the spirit of Sauron itself. That the stench of that first movie endures. So I said, I have my doubts. And yet I wasn't so totally surprised when I read this story yesterday that Disney Plus has decided they're going to take a shot at it as a series because you know what? In the age of streaming, maybe that gives you the opportunity to take another shot at it. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety who wrote the following. An Eragon live-action TV series, and it is in early development at Disney Plus, Variety has learned exclusively from sources. The series will be based on the Christopher Poloni young adult novel series, The Inheritance Cycle, with Eragon being the first of the 4 books in that series. According to sources, Poloni will serve as the co-writer of the series. Now, I'm sure that's going to be very pleasing to hear for a lot of the fans of the original book, that the original writer is going to be in there. Now, in the first Eragon movie, you have a young Luke Skywalker who finds a mentor in an Obi-Wan Kenobi to go on and take on the evil Empire. And, I'm sorry, that's a totally different movie, but it was basically the same thing.
It's Star Wars with Dragons.
And I've been told, I never read the book, but I've been told in the book does not feel like a beat-for-beat Star Wars lift. I've been told that the book does not feel like that at all. But for some reason, when they did the movie, which is the only thing I was exposed to, it felt like a very much a beat-for-beat Star Wars retelling. But again, I've never read the book, but I've heard the book does not play that way. So, I mean, I think this is a good thing, even though, like I said, the stench of that first movie endures. But if they can give it a new life in a different, screen, in the small screen with Disney Plus, and they can try to give it a new life. This was a popular book series, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be very, very happy about this. Anyway, Rob, you hear about this. What are your thoughts?
Well, I thought that the movie was lacking, and I was interested in it because the Eragon books were written by a very young guy. Like, I want to say he was like 18 or something when he published the first book, something like that. So I was rooting for him. He had a lot of meteoric success with that series, and more power to him. I'd like to see more young people write books that get published. Very cool. But that movie was just, can you imagine, you hit you write your book series, it becomes successful, you get your dream to have a movie made, and then it turns out to be
that
shite. So I kind of like the fact that it's kind of like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, the original movie and then they made the TV series.
Right.
And the TV series was another
I literally had a conversation with somebody who was like 19 years old, and I mentioned the Buffy the Vampire movie, and they said they made a movie out of it?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, like there was a movie before the show. You're lying. No, there really was. Like a lot of people don't even know that now.
Yeah.
It's a great example.
Yeah, and so then they made the TV series completely overshadowed the movie, and rightfully so. And I think that's kind of, I would at least hope. It's John, these fantasy shows, back when Hercules and Xena were getting made, when they would have like dragons or monsters, they were not exactly the most convincing. But now it's amazing to me that they're green lighting these fantasy shows where dragons like are main characters. We've come so far technologically. It's kind of cool to see a lot of these fantasy projects. I mean, even science fiction shows like Foundation, the effects technology that they're bringing to bear on these things is amazing. So hopefully the show will be good.
By the way, the person who wrote in the question asked, do I think that, the Lord of the Rings series, the Game of Thrones thing, if that has anything to do with it? I think that has everything to do with it. I really do. I think Disney Plus is seeing, okay, this now fantasy genre stuff is really, really hot. If we're going to try to take another shot at Eragon, this is the time to do it. So I think it has everything to do with it. Anyway, Chris, you hear about this. What do you think?
I'm so excited. We love a redemption story, right?
That's true.
Because that 2006 film should have been good, and it was so upsetting that it wasn't. You had this stacked cast of Jeremy Irons and John Malkovich and Rachel Weisz.
I forgot she was in it.
Where did this go wrong? And so it kind of makes me think of, not only Buffy, but then, Avatar getting, it had that horrible live action film from M. Night Shyamalan. And now we're doing the series that hopefully will get that taste out of everyone's mouth. I'm really hoping that's the case here because fantasy literature, I think, is so adaptable. We've seen it work. We've seen people buy fully into dragons and magic and all of these concepts. It just comes down to good characters and good story. So hopefully they can take what they've got in that book and do it.
All right. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Are you excited about an Eragon relaunch on Disney Plus? Maybe you've been a fan of the book series. Maybe you've never heard of this at all. Whatever you guys' thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. Okay, guys, before we move on to the next topic, let's take a second and thank another sponsor of today's show, Ryan Reynolds and his company, Mint Mobile. Hey guys, we want to take a second and thank the sponsor of this video, Ryan Reynolds, and specifically his delightful company, Mint Mobile. So look, after years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't a catch. And guys, this is no joke. I have been using Mint Mobile for months now. And on top of the fact that I'm spending literally about 1/3 every month of what I was spending on my former major carrier, I've discovered no decline in my service. I kept my phone number and I was able to keep my phone. The switch from my old service to Mint Mobile couldn't have been easier and saved me more money. And the best part for anybody who just hates their phone bills is that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Guys, I am not kidding. I switched to it over 3 months ago. I am spending less than 1/3 of what I was spending on my own phone bill. I did not have to change my phone. I did not have to change my number. It's amazing. You guys got to get on Mint Mobile. Guys, check out the links to Mint Mobile and our other sponsors down in the description of this video, to links to their services and, of course, all the promo codes. And remember, when you guys support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. Okay, guys. With that down, we're going to do some breaking stuff off the top here. And that is this. You guys know that they announced at Comic-Con this past weekend that they announced a movie we were expecting, which was Avengers Secret Wars. We've been saying for a couple of weeks we kind of expect that one to be done. But what we didn't expect, what I thought was kind of the biggest surprise of the thing, other than the 18 episodes of Daredevil, was a second Avengers movie that was going to come before Secret Wars called Avengers the Kang Dynasty. And a lot of people thought that maybe that might be the Russos, but Kevin Feige confirmed it's not going to be them. But we now have a director for at least the first one, Avengers Kang Dynasty. And I couldn't be happier, dude. It's the director of Shang-Chi, Justin Daniel. He's going to be directing this Avengers movie. Oh my God. I think this is fan-freaking-tastic. I mean, look what happened. Kevin Feige brought on the Russo brothers. They did Captain America Winter Soldier, and that went great, whatever, and they started laying out groundwork. I think this is fantastic because I think, and I know I like it more than most people do, but to me, Shang-Chi is a top 5 MCU film. I really believe that. I love this movie completely. I think what Destin did with this movie is nothing short of remarkable. He clearly had, like, the whole movie felt like it took place in the MCU, even though, other than Wong showing up whenever, we never had to have a lot of other MCU elements in it. The action was superb. The humor was fantastic. The narrative and the way they weaved in the mythology was incredible. And if this is his big attaboy congratulations reward, this is damn exciting. This is damn exciting. You know what? When somebody brought up the other day, who do you think will end up directing it? I said, well, you know me, ex-director in X movie, whatever. But I try to go through the Rolodex in my head. There's an old word for you. I try to go through the Rolodex in my head. I'm like, okay, so who could direct it? Could be this person, that person. I never even thought about Destin. Never even thought about it. And this breaking right now, I think this is fantastic. Other than a Steven Spielberg or something like that being announced, or maybe Edgar Wright. Ooh, that would have been a delicious name too. But other than an Edgar Wright or Steven Spielberg, I think this name gets me really more excited than most other names would have. Anyway, Rob, you're just hearing this news now, as we all are. What do you think of this? We got our director for Avengers,
Look,
Kang Dynasty.
Like you, I really like Shang-Chi a lot. And this story, like, I don't know, as we know, John, they use the original comic stories for inspiration. The Kang Dynasty storyline is monstrously huge. I mean, it takes place in space. It takes place on Earth. It takes place all over the place. There's so many different factions. It's a monstrous story. They blow up Washington, D.C. They kill millions of people. That's in the comics. When I heard that they were doing this, it kind of, for me, came out of left field. Secret Wars, I understand. But this, like, I have to say I'm more excited for this than Secret Wars. I don't know what they're going to do, but this is a monstrously huge project that they could easily have split into 2 movies. This is going to be dope. I mean, I'm excited.
Chris, you hear about this. What's your take on it?
Oh, I'm chuffed to bits. I love this. He's amazing. Shang-Chi was so good. It was so good. And to echo Rob, I mean, it's a 16-part comic story. Woofda.
And it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So I think we saw so many wonderful, vibrant concepts come to life in Shang-Chi, right? We made the fantastical feel so grounded. We introduced some really odd, whimsical concepts to the MCU. So I really think this is in good hands.
And I also think that it's an indicator of where the 10 rings kind of come from.
Yes.
I think
That's what I was gonna say,
they're going to move that into clearly the future of the multiverse saga is taking place before our eyes.
We're not going to do like the alien dragon race. It's going to be
well,
Kang.
it's going to, I don't know how it all works together, but between Miss Marvel, between the 10 rings, between the Kang Dynasty, it's all coming together.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting thought too. It's very interesting that they're announcing that he's directing that one, but not Secret Wars. Because you'd almost think these 2 movies, considering they're releasing like 6 months apart, that they would be shot concurrently, that they'd be shot back to back, right? So I'm kind of surprised to not hear that he's directing the second one. Now, maybe that will be an announcement that comes later, but I have a feeling that what this would suggest to me, if they're getting him to direct this one and they're going to get somebody else to direct Secret Wars, that kind of tells me these may be more separate movies than even Infinity War and Endgame were. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I totally agree with you. And I think they are going to be made concurrently. But because one of them is very much, if they follow the comics, is very much set on Earth and in space and all that. Secret Wars, if they go to Battle World or however it's in a very different place. So I think that they're going to make them concurrently because the cast will all be together, but they're going to be like 2 totally separate, different movies. So I think it would be difficult to film them just because the sets are going to be totally different. I mean, I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass here, but that's what I would think. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Russo brothers are directing Secret Wars.
Oh, well, so you're switching off of the X-Men and now you're going to Secret Wars?
Well, no, I'm not switching up because I don't think the X-Men are going to get made until after.
Right.
I think they're going to get made afterwards. But I think now, because they're going to start production, they're going to start pre-production of these movies now.
Well, now we know that the Russo brothers are going to be busy with a Gray Man cinematic universe.
maybe like Zack Snyder, who got poached by Netflix to do Rebel Moon, the Russo brothers are off into their own land, which I could see. But I do think that Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty are so very different, whereas Infinity War and Endgame were really one story, whereas the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars are very different stories. So I don't know how it's going to work. All I know is this is a monstrously huge undertaking, both of these movies.
Right?
So this director is going to have his hands in this movie, the Shang-Chi sequel, and Wonder Man, right?
I don't.
Those 3 properties.
I have no idea. I
think he's doing
there's
Wonder
never
Man
been,
too.
they've never officially come out and stamped Shang-Chi 2.
No, and,
So, I
and
mean-
they've announced they're developing Wonder Man, but
Yeah, so I mean, that leaves a lot of questions up in the air right now. So it's going to be really fascinating to see. Anyway, I'm sure we're going to get more details in this coming soon. Guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? The director of Shang-Chi, which I love, I mean, I think it's one of the best Marvel movies ever made, is now going to be directing. Apparently, Kevin Feige agrees because he got him to come in and direct the next Avengers film. What are you guys thinking about that right now? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down into the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that kind of breaking news out of the way, let's move on to main topic number 2. Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This comes from Michael Lynch. I saw an article on The Direct that says Marvel isn't allowed to make movies with new actors portraying mutants until 2025 due to contracts made with previous actors. I was wondering if this is true, and if so, when do you think realistically we can expect to see new actors portray the X-Men? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, one of the things coming out of Comic-Con that a lot of people were surprised about, a lot of people were hoping to hear X-Men announcements. And of course, they never really did anything outside of projects that we already knew were coming. They really didn't make any new announcements. So they didn't announce no cast for Fantastic Four. They didn't announce a brand new X-Men project. They didn't do any of that kind of stuff. And that surprised some people. It really shouldn't, considering where they're at right now. And maybe they will at D23. But there is a report going around that the Direct is quoting here, saying that the reason there's no new X-Men right now is because of existing contracts with the actors from the previous iteration of the franchise. This comes to us from the folks over the Direct who write the following. According to Cinema Sangha, the reason why mutants weren't announced at Marvel's Hall H panel is that Marvel Studios can't make their X-Men movie until at least 2025 due to the contractual situation with the original Fox stuff. Despite the introduction of mutants at the end of Ms. Marvel, there's no mutants in Phase 5, and I know why. I know why there's no mutants. I know why this is going to take a while. There might be individual mutants. There might be other characters in that show that show a certain interest. The reason why is that the contractual situation with the original Fox stuff will be in effect until 2025. So if they don't want to use those actors, then they have to wait until that contract all expires. That, again, is being quoted out of the Direct. All right. So the basic notion here is that, let's just say James McAvoy. The proposal here is that James McAvoy has a contract that says he is Charles Xavier until 2025. It is possible that that could be the case. However, I find it very unlikely. Let's go back to the situation with the first Iron Man movie. And I always freeze on the great actor's name who played Rhodey in the first one.
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard. Thank you.
Terrence Howard, thanks.
Did you see Terrence
I
Malick?
did. I was like,
All right. I love
not
it.
right at all.
So Terrence Howard.
Awesome.
This is just an example, okay? And this is how it works 99.9% of the time. Terrence Howard did have a multi-film deal to play that character. However, all these multi-film deals, we've explained this a lot on the show. When you hear an actor signed a 10-film contract, right? All that means is that if the studio wants the actor to play in 10 films, the actor is now obligated to play in 10 films. What it does not mean is that the studio is obligated to use them. So here's an example. Let's say I'm a studio, right? And I've got the Pickle My Foot franchise going. And Rob is not only the writer and director, he's the star. Okay,
It's your foot?
It's your foot. Actually, no, let's say Chris. Like Chris is the star of
Recast.
Oh,
Yeah, because
man.
I'm the mad person who pickles
yes, you're the
people's
director
feet.
and everything
Oh,
like that,
okay.
right?
I'm the villain.
Okay.
Stay out of my DMs.
She plays the villain in the movies Villaina of the Pickle My Foot franchise. Villaina is a wonderful three-dimensional character. It's fantastic.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for writing it.
And so we were so excited to get her signed up that we signed her to a 5-film deal because, of course, everybody knows Pickle My Foot is a 5-book epic. So we signed Chris to a 5-film deal.
Woo-woo.
But after we do the first film, we decide, you know what? She's just not villaina enough for
Oh
us.
man. Story of my life.
And we decide that we need to go in a different direction. We are free to do that. Now, if we want to keep using Chris, she's obligated because of the 5-film contract to come in and play that role 4 more times.
Mm-hmm.
But we're still free to either not make the movies or we're free to recast it. We've seen that happen many times.
Yep.
And even sometimes a studio, when they have a character, an actor under contract, they will sometimes let them go if they don't really want to do it. Like Hugo Weaving was under contract to play Red Skull a number of times, but Hugo Weaving hated playing the character. And so Marvel was like, you hated it. We're not going to make you do it. So they let him out of it. But again, they would have been free to recast that. So while it is possible that when negotiating the old X-Men films that had the new class cast, that they totally changed directions and put verbiage in the contract that says, we promise you, we will never use any other actors to play these roles except you until 2025. That is possible. It is highly unlikely, though. So while it is very possible we won't see any X-Men until like 2025 or 2026, that's totally reasonable. Well, I will not say it's impossible. I have a hard time believing it's because James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender and Jennifer Lawrence have contracts to say you're not allowed to do anything with those characters unless I'm the one playing it. I'll be honest with you, Rob, I've never heard of such a thing outside of Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. I've never heard of that. So, Rob, you hear about this. You've been on both sides of this. What do you think of this report?
I think it's a little sketchy, to be honest. However, if you think about, I could see them when they made Dark Phoenix, I think they could have had new contracts. I know Jennifer Lawrence wanted out. She didn't want to play.
Yeah, so we can take her out of that equation. Yeah.
But I think a lot of the characters might have signed up to do 3 more movies beyond Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix didn't work out, but I could see some kind of on, maybe not for everybody, but certain characters, like main characters, like Sophie Turner, Jonas, they could have had some kind of a 3-picture deal through a certain amount of time, and they might have had certain contracts with people based on a number of films, and I could see them having to pay off the actors if they wanted to replace them somehow. Or
have you ever heard of such a contract in the comic book genre before?
Well, no, but I mean, they might have made, in order to make Dark Phoenix, which was like it was supposed to be the beginning of another set of movies. They even wanted to do 2 movies, and split them up. So there could have been some kind of contractual shenanigans there. I don't know what, but because there was already a lot of X-Men movies, if somebody wanted to start a new cycle, like for a trilogy, I could see them. 2025 seems that's a long from the time X-Men Dark Phoenix was made, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility based on the way the comic book franchises are going. Like Sam Jackson has a 9-picture deal to play Nick Fury in 9 different movies.
Right.
And they use them. I could see that happening.
But Disney's not obligated to actually fulfill those 9 films.
No,
right?
They're not. But because this came from Fox and it was a different studio, Disney's like, you know what? Rather than get into some contractual mess, we're just going to let it all fade away until those contracts run out. Because then they're in a position where they have to, these were done on a different studio regime. So I could say they're shenanigans that we're not privy to. So I think the fact that the acquisition of Fox, that makes me think that some weirdness could be there. And Disney's like, you know what, we're just not going to deal with it. We're just going to let the contracts run out.
Chris, I have never heard of such a thing happening in a comic book genre before in any studio. As a performer yourself, have you ever had like a contract where the production company was obligated to use you moving forward? Has that been a
No,
case for
I've
you?
had options, and we've had the discussion of, should you move forward with me again? This is the increase in pay I'll receive, all of this stuff. My manager, Alex, he's a great guy. He would love one of these contracts, though. Oh, my gosh. These people have fantastic managers if this is what's happening. I will say, though, too, 2025 is not that far away. And when you look at how stacked these next phases are, I mean, I don't think that timeline is really that crazy, right? Because we've got a lot of other movies to get through before we maybe have a full-on X-Men film. That also means we don't have to have these specific mutants. If this is the verbiage, there's always a workaround.
Yeah, they could. Yeah,
You could use different folks. You could have different mutants in there.
Right, but you need to have Wolverine, and you need to have
Yeah.
Professor Xavier, and you
I
need
would
to have
I would argue we
Magneto,
could have a
right?
break from Jean Grey.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, one,
I
but
would like a break from her.
yeah, that
I would
wouldn't
like
be
a break
bad.
from
But
Cyclops.
you know what's really interesting, John, is we learn more about this and we see more of how phase 5 and 6 are shaking out. It makes a lot of sense to me that because all of the Avengers, we're going to go from 2008 to 2025 before we get the Avengers. All that stuff is old hat. What's going to sustain Marvel for another 10 years? Mutants. The mutants are a whole different universe with a whole different set of people and a whole different set of villains where they could do all kinds of things that are not part of this. So I could see here's a way to keep Marvel vibrant for another decade and a half. Because, I mean, I'm sure they'll bring the mutants to the Earth somehow, but
Yeah.
if you're doing Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, after Secret Wars, there's a lot of places you could go, and you've got, I mean, the mutants alone, there's so many characters in the X-Men. That's an interesting way Marvel's preserving their longevity.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? That maybe the reason we're not getting X-Men until much later on is because there was contracts saying you have to use those actors. I've never heard of that, but it's possible. Maybe just Kevin Feige wasn't planning on using them until then anyway, because he always said he's always had his plan for this already. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. Chris, what is our third main topic today?
This is from Clark, Washington. Netflix has been in the news as of late for all the wrong reasons, and seems things are only going to get worse, if the rap is to be believed. Yesterday, they reported that along with 30 Rock, which is leaving the service on July 31st, they could end up losing 10 high-profile licensed TV titles by 2026 should extensions not be reached by Netflix and the series owners. What are your thoughts on this latest development for Netflix?
All right, thanks a lot for sharing that, man. And yeah, listen, it's we've been talking a lot about some of the troubles and trials and tribulations of Netflix has been having, and I don't want to. Listen, I'm a big Netflix fan. I'm on Netflix almost every day. I love Netflix. Maybe you'd be forgiven for not picking up on that, considering that whenever we're talking about Netflix, it seems to be a lot of doom and gloom we're talking about. But I'm a big fan of Netflix. I like their stuff, particularly their TV. However, it is relevant to talk about the struggles they've been facing because they have faced a lot. And as we mentioned just a little bit earlier in the show, they have lost $200 billion in valuation in the last number of months. And they are facing some challenges. Now, one of the challenges that we've talked a bunch before on the show is that amongst their most watched stuff is not their originals. Now, they're starting to become a little more prevalent on their service, absolutely, which is great. But a lot of their most popular stuff is their archived content. It's their content that is created by other people that they then bring over and show on their network. And that has a lot to do with their viewership. And for a lot of people, that's why a lot of people subscribe to Netflix. There's a lot of people who do subscribe to Netflix for Stranger Things and The Crown and things like that, absolutely. But I think it's fair to say that probably the majority of people who sign up to Netflix, they sign up so they can watch shows like The Gilmore Girls and things like that, which sounds weird to say, but it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about they could be facing this problem where now that all these studios and production houses are creating their own streaming services, like The Office is gone. Parks and Rec is gone. They're going to be facing more and more challenges. Well, a report came out in the Wrap to talk about 10 big time shows that they have coming to an end of their licenses. And this could be a problem for them. So let's go over to the Campea Classroom here for a second. Take a look at this. One of the shows that they're losing quickly is New Girl. This is a very popular show and a delightful show, by the way. This was the 10th most watched acquired series on streaming as of 2021. Think about that. The 10th most watched acquired series in 2021. And they're looking at losing New Girl in 2023. Next, they're losing Community. Now, again, all these they are scheduled to lose. They may be able to renegotiate and get the licenses back. But as of right now, according to these reports, they're going to be losing Community in 2024. And this would be the second time that they lost that show. So when they got it back, it was of course for a big celebration for a lot of people, but they lost it. A show I've never watched once, but is scary popular. They're scheduled to lose NCIS in 2024. It was the 4th most watched show in 2021 on streaming. Is NCIS. And I'm sure a lot of people who watch this show have never seen NCIS, but believe me, the audience for that is monstrous.
Yeah.
Absolutely monstrous. It's like BTS. I never listen to their stuff, but you best believe they have a massive following. A huge
You're not listening
following.
to Dynamite? Come on.
They're no
it's a banger.
Blackpink.
That's true.
They're no Blackpink. Next one,
minor,
another
yeah.
show I've never watched, but was hugely popular. How to Get Away with Murder. This show spent 63 days in Netflix's top 10 carousel. That's how popular it was. And I've never watched it myself. I've never seen it myself, but it spent 63 days on the top 10 carousel. Okay, another one that they're losing. Baking Bad. Breaking Bad. They're scheduled to lose Breaking Bad in February 2025. Now, we don't need to say anything about that. There's a lot of television fans who consider Breaking Bad to be the greatest television show of all time. I'm not one of them, but a lot of people consider it to be like the greatest show of all time. Next, they're scheduled to lose The Good Place in 2025. This is a show that spent 88 days in Netflix's top 10 carousel. 88 days in that, and they're scheduled to lose The Good Place. Also, this one speaks to me. Supernatural.
Hell yeah.
Of course, one of my favorite shows. Absolutely love that. Supernatural, 7th most watched acquired series in 2021 for Netflix. 7th most watched acquired series for Netflix in 2021. They're scheduled to lose that. Also, we were just talking about this. The Gilmore Girls. This one speaks to my wife's heart. She loves the Gilmore Girls. But this is a hugely popular show with a big and important demographic. So that's when they're scheduled to lose. How's this one? Seinfeld. Seinfeld? Seinfeld. They're scheduled to lose that in 2026 to Sony. Netflix paid $500 million for the current license they have. And if Seinfeld does indeed leave after that, that $500 million is spent. And they would have gotten a lot out of it, but one of the most celebrated comedies of all time, Seinfeld. Rounding this out is a show, again, that I've only seen a little bit of. I never really watched a lot of this show, but is Shameless. A lot of people love Shameless. And that's a show that's wrapping up now anyway with William H. Macy. But still, I mean, look at this rundown they have. New Girl, Community, NCIS, How to Get Away with Murder, Breaking Bad, The Good Place, Supernatural, Gilmore Girls, Seinfeld. I mean, look, again, when we talk about Netflix, we are talking about The Gray Man. We're talking about Stranger Things. We're talking about Umbrella Academy. We're talking about a lot of these originals. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of the bread and butter in Netflix is that curated content. Curated content is their bread and butter. And Netflix knew that this was coming years ago. Years ago, Netflix, the bosses at Netflix had the foresight to know that this was coming. And that's why they started doubling down and started making all this original content, because they knew eventually they were going to lose the stuff that was paying their bills. Have they done a good enough job in that transition? Time is yet to tell. We don't know for sure. But anyway, Chris, you see this list, a lot of big name programming that has been the bread and butter of stuff like Netflix, all scheduled to leave at this point. Big deal, not as big of a deal. How do you see it?
It's a very big deal because they need money. What are you doing, guys? And we've seen study after study showing that rewatchability is very, very important for people too, especially those who suffer from anxiety because of those pre-existing conditions that you're aware of, right? You know what's going to happen in the show. It lowers those anxiety levels. And that's why we saw such an uptick in people rewatching these shows throughout the last 3 years while we all were sequestered in our homes, because this was something that we knew how it was going to end. That gave us comfort and closure and made us feel safe. So this has been huge for Netflix over the past few years. New Girl is the thing I rewatch the most. Logan's caller ID is a picture of Nick Miller. I mean, that's just us right there.
I love New Girl. I really do.
Oh, it's just so
you.
great.
You really are Jess. Like, you really are.
Yeah,
in every way that matters.
I was
You
her
really are.
stand-in once.
Really?
My dad wanted me to go tell her that I needed to be written to the show. And I was like, yeah, that's how that works, Dad. Thank you so much.
Thanks
I
for the
love that.
advice.
Thank you for that advice. But I think this is a very big problem, though, because so many people do come to this particular streaming service for these shows. And this is why things like Peacock, though, you're seeing an uptick with them because of being able to watch The Office. They're going to get Parks and Rec at some point, too, I'm sure. And that's going to make things more difficult for Netflix.
And one of the reasons that Jonathan brought up this 30 Rock image is because that one is leaving in the next,
Love
I
that
believe the
show.
next few weeks. 30 Rock is leaving. That's one of the most popular.
Yeah.
There's another big one they're losing imminently as well that I can't remember which one that was, but it went along with 30 Rock, so they're losing that as well. I mean, it's a big thing. So that's part of the reason when we were talking earlier, why are they dropping $200 million in movies? Because they are desperate to make sure they are seen as an original content place, not the curated content place, which is what has made them the biggest name in streaming for years. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to navigate and manage this. Questions for you guys. What do you think about this? With all these shows leaving, do you think Netflix is going to be able to pivot in time to really get everybody acclimated to their own originals network? Do you think it's going to hurt them a lot, losing all this curated content that has been their bread and butter for so long? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys. With that down, we're now going to take a second and thank another sponsor of today's show, the wonderful folks doing good work over at BetterHelp. Hey guys, we want to take a second and thank the sponsor of this video, BetterHelp. You know, in the age of social media, you might think that everybody's life except yours is perfect because everybody always posts the best memories, the most glamorous shots. But you and I both know that's not how life is. We get pitched some serious curveballs, and sometimes it seems like a lot of them. And you know, we always encourage each other to get out there and to get into better physical health, going to the gym and eating right. But it's about time we started paying more attention to our mental health as well. And that's where our friends at BetterHelp come in. Because see, BetterHelp is not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional therapy done securely online, available to people worldwide. You can log onto your account anytime and send private messages to your therapist, or you can schedule weekly or phone-only sessions if you're one of those people that's not really comfortable being on camera. And getting therapy every week is as easy as just a few clicks on your laptop or phone. It is time to invest in your own mental health, and BetterHelp is a great way to invest in yourself. And right now, they have a special offer for all of the John Campea Show listeners to get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Campea. That's 10% off your first month of online therapy at betterhelp.com/Campea. And a big thank you to the folks at BetterHelp for what they're doing and for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 4. Chris, what is our fourth main topic today?
This comes from Justin Vossenberg. Hey, John and crew. Marvel published an article on their website on the weekend with quotes from Ludwig Göransson about Wakanda Forever soundtrack. In it, Göransson states, using Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole's script as a blueprint, we began to build a musical vocabulary for the characters, storylines, and cultures of Talocan and Wakanda. Is this a hint towards Namor not being the king of Atlantis in the MCU, but rather a nation named Talokan? Could Marvel be attempting to distance their property from DC's Atlantis and Aquaman? Thanks.
This is one of those things where you're like, yeah, reading the blood. Wait a minute, stop. What did they just say?
Yeah.
Talocan?
Sorry if I said it wrong, y'all.
Yeah, listen, I have not, with all the comics that I've read, I've not followed a lot of Submariner or Namor, right? I've not followed a lot of them. So you'll have to forgive me that this is a new one to me. Talocan?
Talokan.
What's that?
I just said Talokan.
Talokan, or Jersey. Yeah, we pronounce it Jersey.
I don't know.
I'm like, wait a minute, what's that? And I thought, well, maybe that's just Ludwig's, like, his euphemism for Atlantis or whatever, but it's not just him. This comes to us from the folks over at Screen Rant who wrote the following. Merchandise for Black Panther Wakanda Forever has now confirmed this theory. The Hasbro website is now accepting pre-orders for merchandise related to Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And the description of the Marvel Legends action figure of Namor, the Submariner, reveals that he isn't the ruler of Atlantis at all, but rather it reads, the ruler of Jersey, or of Talokan, an ancient civilization hidden in the depths of the ocean. Namor will stop at nothing to protect his people. And I went, that's interesting. Now, I already know what is happening because, listen, can I admit something I'm not proud of? Can I admit something I'm not proud of? All right. There was this one time. There was this time. This is going back years. I'm a big fan of Highlander. Huge, like the original Highlander that's the one surprise pick that I have in my top 10 all-time favorite movies. Like all my other top 10 people go, okay, yeah, that's cool. That one's cool. As soon as I say the Highlander, they're like, wait, what? But yeah, Highlander's in my top 10. Deal with it. And I remember reading an article, and this article wrote this thing. They said, oh, okay, there's a Highlander sequel or a reboot coming. This is back, I think, when Ryan Reynolds was going to be doing the Highlander reboot. And they wrote, there can only be one. And that's in the headline. And I wrote this irate, angry email. It's like, if you're going to write about the movies, know what you're talking about. Is there can be only one. Not there can only be one. What How stupid was that of me to nitpick over that? Some writer got the order words and I lost my mind, or I'm like, how dare you, sir? Like, it's like, I'm so, now I look back on that, I'm like so fucking embarrassed that I did that. It's totally ridiculous. But so that, I just bring that up to highlight that I am guilty of this too. But as a fellow guilty member, I can already hear some of the hardcore Namor fans going, how dare you, sir? He is the king of Atlantis. And I get it. I get it. This is a massive shift to call it Talocan instead of Atlantis. And I get it. And even as somebody who's not a hardcore Namor fan, even to me it was, well, that's kind of dumb that they would do that. But you know what? I gave it some thought. And I think you're absolutely right that what you wrote in there. This, and I think Screen Rant got it right too. This is them saying, you know what? DC beat us to the punch. They got Aquaman out before we did Namor. And Atlantis is their kingdom, and they got a whole mythology of Atlantis and blah, blah. And we don't want to create any confusion. And we don't want to create comparison. And we don't want to create all this. You know what? It's just going to be better and easier for us if we just say this lost undersea kingdom he rules is something called Talocan. Talokan or whatever. I don't know. Ray saying we should name it. It's just going to be easier for us. It doesn't affect our storytelling. It doesn't affect anything at all in the movie. Just we've given it a different name. 95% of the people who are going to come to these movies have never read Namor in a comic book anyway. And so while I'm not sure if I was in the boardroom of Marvel when this concept got brought up, I'm not sure I wouldn't have said, you know what, let's just keep it Atlantis. It's fine. Let's just keep, I probably would have voted, just keep it Atlantis. But had I been outvoted, I don't think I'd lose any sleep over it. So this is surprising. I don't think it's a decision I would have made, but I understand the logic behind it. And frankly, I'm okay with it. It's not what I would have chosen, but I'm okay with it. Rob, you hear about Talocan for Namor's kid. What do you think about this change?
Well, here's the thing. You know, for me, like the MCU, they've had to, throughout the MCU, they've adapted comic stories, adapted things to fit the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think there's a great opportunity here. From what I understand, Talocan is steeped in Aztec mythology.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you now have an entire part of the world, all of South America, Central America, Mexico. You have all of the mythology, whether you want to use the Incas, the Mayans. I mean, everything. You've got hundreds of years of history that really no one's mined yet. And so it's a part of the world. If you've got Wakanda's Africa, Atlantis is still kind of a Greco-Roman thing, you know, like Greeks and all that. If you look into the world, that's where that, well, okay. But how interesting it is that you can go to another part of the world and mine a rich history, a rich people, a whole rich mythology that nobody's made use of. And you can still have an undersea kingdom. It's just not Atlantis, you know, and you've got Quetzalcoatl, and you can use the Day of the Dead, and you can use all of this different imagery, which is pretty cool. I mean, I was kind of hoping that they would shift Atlantis and put it over more toward Asia. Maybe it was an Asian, and you could cast a great Asian actor to play Namor. But we got that with Shang-Chi. You know, I got my man Tony Leung in Shang-Chi. Now we get to go to a different part of the world, and you're really making the MCU more global in scope. So I think from a cinematic standpoint, it's cool. I think there's going to be a lot of purists like, why isn't it Atlantis? But if it's an undersea kingdom with different iconography, I mean, you've got Wakanda using all of Africa. Now you've got, I mean, I would love to see armies in Toltec, Mayan, Aztec fighting Africans. I mean, just the costume design of those people fighting each other, if that's what they're going to do, would be awesome. Because you could identify the different armies and stuff. It'd be cool.
And just visually, from a design point of view, it's going to be like unlike anything else we've had in these films before.
Yeah, totally. And look what they did. Look what they did with Shang-Chi with the costumes and
so gorgeous.
Yeah, right. And so I think what they're doing. I mean, to me, you know, everybody talks about, well, you know, everyone's inclusion, identity politics. I'm like, but when you do it right, when you actually make use of these rich cultures that have hundreds, if not thousands, like with China, thousands of years of history. It's really cool. Like, and it becomes visually, look, we got Egyptian iconography and Moon Knight. And now if you're going to make, if you're going to avail yourself of all the rich history in Central and South America and Mexico, how cool is that going to be?
Chris, I mean, I admit, reading it at first is like, wait, what? It's not Atlantis?
Yeah.
But I think there's some good rationale behind it here. You hear about this. What's your reaction to it?
Oh, man. Well, I fell down a big old rabbit hole because I was like, I want to research this. So I've been reading up on the Aztec gods and this paradise that it's all based on. And this was a place in some versions of this mythology where people who died due to disease or rain or just severe deaths went to this like one level of a 13th paradise kind of afterlife system, which is very, very cool to read about. Y'all, the internet's wild. I love this. And I think this all goes back to a greater concept, too, that you've brought up before, Rob, of thinking about how theology plays into the greater MCU right now because we deal with gods and celestials and Catholicism with Daredevil, right? How does theology then factor into these very, very grounded, real beings that people interact with on a one-on-one level? Does that affect spirituality? Does that change a belief system? And that's maybe a heady concept that we're not going to dive into too much in this Marvel universe, but I hope we do. I think that'd be fascinating.
Well, you know, you're dealing with the cosmology of all this stuff too, between the Celestials, the Egyptian gods, the Chinese gods. I mean, those gods, the Asgardians, they're aliens, or they've been around in the universe for a long time. So what they're doing is, yes, there's Earth is a place where people have interacted, but you know, the Asgardians call Earth Midgard. And so you've got a much larger cosmology that's going cosmic. And if we're going to meet Adam Warlock with Guardians, all of this stuff is all intertwined. Literally, it is truly the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I love seeing this stuff expand this way. I think it's cool.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? They're getting away from Namor being the king of Atlantis and calling it something else. I think the rationale is sound, even though it feels a little off-putting at first. Thinking, wait,
Right.
what? But whatever. Guys, what do you think about this? What would you have done if you were in the boardroom of Marvel at that time? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 5. Chris, what is our 5th main topic today?
This comes from Aaron F. Good afternoon, everyone. Variety is now reporting that Marvel confirmed that the trailer views for Black Panther Wakanda Forever doubled the views the first Black Panther got in the first 24 hours of release.
Wow.
It also marks the 3rd biggest trailer release for any Marvel movie without the word Avengers in it. This is huge and shows just how popular this character is. How significant do you think these numbers are? Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in. And yes, listen, these are huge. They're saying that whereas the first, I believe the trailer for the first Black Panther, which was massive in the first 24 hours, I believe it was like 88 million views in the first 24 hours. For Black Panther 2, they're saying 172 million. So basically doubling what the first Black Panther got. Now, of course, there's some interesting context around that, like people are very curious with the passing of Chadwick Boseman and all that kind of stuff. But this is huge. Now, get this. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety who basically talk about it and break it down this way. By pulling in 172 million views in its first 24 hours, Black Panther Wakanda becomes one of the top trailer launches for a standalone movie. Actually, it's the 3rd largest launch for a movie not called Avengers. So they say this, following the titles like Spider-Man No Way Home, which got the trailer of 355.5 million, which is still the all-time record, and Thor Love and Thunder teaser, which got 209 million views. 4 Avenger trailers also pulled in more views. But the other thing that they point out is that you also got to take this into consideration. It should be noted that unlike many of these aforementioned Marvel movies, the Black Panther Wakanda Forever teaser launched on a Saturday night at around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is not exactly the most desired time slot for a trailer debut, as most trailers release weekday mornings and take advantage of the workday rewatch factor. So even though it's an astronomical number, doubling that of the previous thing, they're saying, also keep in mind, they did not drop this at an ideal time. Again, they're right. They normally drop it first thing in the morning on a work day, because that's all people do at work, is then they watch the new trailers at launch, and then they watch them again, and then they watch them again, and they watch them again. So I'm not saying that if they had dropped this Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. that it would have beaten Spider-Man No Way Home's numbers. It wouldn't have. But that just makes this even more impressive. So I think you're looking at a couple things. One, you're looking at the fact that people love the MCU. Two, you're looking at people who are very curious to see how are they going to handle Black Panther without our T'Challa, without Chadwick Boseman being there. Also, people just love the Black Panther movies. They want to see the next trailer. Rob, you hear these numbers. What do you attribute it to?
Well, I will say this. For me personally, I think this is just a kick-ass trailer that I've watched.
So good.
I've watched it more than I probably watched this trailer 10 or 15 times. I mean, the imagery is just very cool. And I think that for whatever reason, it's compelling from a storytelling standpoint because you really don't know. It looks like there's a lot going on in this movie. In addition to you get to the point where you see the painted mural of Chad Boseman's face.
Right.
I mean, it's emotional, but I look at this and I'm like, I just want to see this movie. And I think people are watching this trailer. They're kind of mesmerized because, look, Black Panther was $1 billion plus grossing movie.
Best Picture nominee at the Academy Awards.
Best Picture nominee, and it also had a cultural significance that I think other comic book movies don't necessarily have. Plus, I'm just curious, like, there's a curiosity factor too, like, what are they going to do? Like, how are they going to make this movie work without your main character that everybody loved? And they look like they've stuck that landing, and I just think it's a really fun trailer to watch. You know what it does? The promise it's made to me as a moviegoer is pretty big. Like, you better deliver, Ryan Coogler, because your trailer
Promises a lot.
Your trailer's made my heart full. So I can't wait to get and see this. And I think that's why people are watching it because, it's just so damn cool. Let's watch it again.
Chris,
Let's watch it now.
What do you attribute that? Like, these numbers are massive, especially compared to the original film. What do you attribute this huge number to?
Oh, like Rob was saying, it's the rewatchability of the trailer. It's trying to break it down and look at every little frame and try to figure things out and piece it together of who we know now, I guess, but
Come on.
who's
Look at
playing
that.
who,
Is
what's
that a
going on
pyramid?
here? It's gorgeous.
Is that a pyramid?
Yeah.
That appears
Yeah,
to be
it is.
a pyramid in the
that
background.
doesn't look like an Egyptian pyramid.
No,
No.
it does not.
It looks Aztec.
Uh-huh.
I'm very excited about it. And also, I mean, it's just
She's the most beautiful in
stunning.
the world. Look at that.
It's a
Lupita
stunning.
Nyong'o?
Yeah,
Oh my
she's
God, yes.
gorgeous. It's a stunning trailer. I mean, every single frame of this is a piece of art. It's beautiful, and I think we all have just been really, really highly anticipating this film. We all want to see what is the next chapter of Wakanda's history.
Ray, I know you were excited about the trailer. Like, why were you excited about seeing a new Black Panther trailer? Because that might give us some insight why a lot of people were tuning in to watch it.
Oh, I was excited because of curiosity, mainly.
Right.
I don't know if I didn't think we were gonna get a trailer, to be honest, during Comic-Con.
Really? See, I thought that was the most automatic thing that they were going to give us.
Usually we get a bunch of stories, like from what I see, we get a bunch of stories, and then the trailer dropped. We hadn't said much about Wakanda Forever, other than emails about guessing what we're gonna see or predicting what we're gonna see. But we didn't get a lot of official news of it, so it came as a surprise to me. I told you when it dropped, I was at GameStop. I was picking up my Stone Cold Steve Austin statue because I want a half naked man on my desk. And we watched it, and the GameStop worker watched it with us. But we had the sound all the way down. There's a lot of people. So when I went home and I watched it, man, I was a wreck, a little wreck right there. Just because, like I said, his passing is something you can't mention like for a year or two. But when you do, it takes me back to when he did pass.
Yeah.
So it felt like it happened yesterday. So that's going to be with a lot of people that we've lost with me. So, but it's a beautiful trailer. I'm more excited than I was before seeing it. None of the news, whatever reported earlier, it bothers me. I just want to see a good movie. I know there's going to be a lot of heart with it, a lot of love. Let's just hope that it's a good movie and everyone enjoys it.
I still remember where I was when I found out Chadwick Boseman had died. It was me, Ann, and I think Ryan. We were in our living room in Burbank watching the new Bill and Ted movie, which was not very good, but watching the new Bill and Ted movie. And my phone the notifications on my phone just started blowing up, and I was ignoring it. And then, I better check. And that's when I saw the news. I'm like, guys, Chadwick Boseman died. And it didn't have the same emotional impact on me as when, like say when Robin Williams passed or when Carrie Fisher passed, but I still remember going, like I was shocked. I knew there had been some rumors at that point that he had been ill, and there was the speculation because he did that one video where you could clearly see he had a lot of weight loss and things like that. But I will never forget where I was when that happened, and that probably had, in all the right motivation ways, that probably had something to do with why people were like really curious to see what are they doing with this franchise without our king. Yeah. What are they going to do?
It was on my birthday.
Yeah.
Was that your birthday?
It was on my birthday,
Oh, wow.
and we were outside at the Federal having drinks outside when everyone's phone like went off.
Wow.
You know what else about this trailer? Kind of speaking to that, this trailer looks serious, and I think it's time after the silliness of Love and Thunder, and after all the like Moon Knight was a little wacky. Spider-Man: No Way Home was fun, but it was still, it was like craziness. I think it's time for a serious political.
Yeah, but there's gonna be a lot of laughs in this.
No,
too.
there will be laughter in it, but I like the fact that we're downshifting now. Okay, now we've got some world-changing stuff happening.
Yeah.
If Wakanda goes to war with another nation, I want a serious MCU movie now. I'm ready for it.
But that's what the MCU does so well, right? Is that they will change gears. They
that's
will
what I mean.
they will do an Ant-Man and they'll do Winter Soldier.
Yes,
and they'll
exactly.
But I that just made me thought that one of the biggest laughs I ever had in any MCU movie, and there have been a lot of really good laughs in the MCU, but it was from the first Black Panther. And T'Challa walks into Shuri's lab, and like she's working on something, and T'Challa's like, "Oh, what are those?" And I'm paraphrasing a bit, but then Shuri goes, "No, the question is," and she looks at what he's wearing on his feet. "What are those?" And I just remember I just about died in the theater. Anyway, guys, question is for you. The new Black Panther trailer has pretty much doubled the views that the first Black Panther movie and its trailer did in the first 24 hours. What do you attribute that huge, massive influx of interest in the film? We've talked about some of what our options are. What do you guys think? Whatever those thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys, with all that down and out of the way, we're now going to open up the super chats because we are going to hear from you guys for the next part of the show, hearing your thoughts and questions and opinions and theories about any or all the stuff that we talked about here today. So you can go on in and start firing those in now. Try to avoid like 3 and 4 part questions because you probably just won't get around to them. So try to get them in there as quick as you can. Now, before we get to those questions, we're going to take another second to hear from our last sponsor here today, the folks over at Athletic Greens. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, Athletic Greens. Now, when you get really busy, and you guys know that Ann and I are really busy, one of the first things you sacrifice is eating healthy. And I simply have never eaten enough vegetables in my diet, I admit it. So for a long time, I've been looking for a really good all-in-one supplement that helps me get those nutrients and vitamins that my body needs. And thank goodness I found Athletic Greens AG1. So what is Athletic Greens AG1? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and probiotics to help you start your day right. And for me and Ann, it's easy. We get up in the morning, we pour a big glass of water and add 1 scoop of AG1. So many people today are taking some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. And it's cheaper than getting all those different supplements yourself. And on top of giving you all those vitamins and nutrients, it also supports better sleep and quality of recovery and supports mental clarity and alertness. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/mailbag. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/mailbag to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. And a big thank you to the folks at Athletic Greens for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down and out of the way, we're now going to go over and hear what you guys have to say, and we're going to start with our channel members. So, Ray, what have some of our channel members been firing in?
You're going to love this one, John. Jonathan Garcia says, love the show. John, don't forget to watch RRR.
I will. I believe me. I just got to find a block of time where I've got 3 hours that I can sit down and watch it. But Ann and I are dedicated to watching it.
Do it
All
the right
right, what's
way.
next?
1 hour of viewing.
Yeah, 1 hour, 30 minutes maybe. Okay, Shelby writes, this is referring to your joke earlier about rotary phone. She said, once on vacation, the police came to our beach house because my cousins were playing 911 with a rotary phone in the basement that apparently still worked.
Well,
Oh yeah. Hey, listen. I've had rotary phones still work. They still work. I don't know how they ever worked, but I mean, there you go. I still remember my first phone number, 387-4336. Because I remember having to dial that. That was back at the time you didn't even have to put in the area code first because it was living in the town of Hamilton. But there you go. All right, what's next?
Roxy Logan writes, thank you guys for amazing shows. I haven't been this hyped for a Marvel movie in a long time. Black Panther seems like it'll be their best movie yet.
Hey, listen, I have learned don't make grand predictions about how good or bad the movie will be based off the trailer. Because, again, we've seen a lot of great trailers to terrible movies and vice versa. What's a good trailer? It is a good trailer. And like I said, in Ryan Coogler, the guy who made Fruitvale Station, are you kidding me? I trust Ryan Coogler, so we'll see where that goes. All right, what's next?
All right. Callie Royal 92 says, Shuri can learn to fight, and she did fight in Endgame. Her training is an easy narrative addition.
No, it's not. You're talking about T'Challa is supposed to be like top 3 or 4 hand-to-hand combat fighters in the world. That's Black Panther. You don't learn that in a year. It stretches verisimilitude to suggest they can. Like, oh, just go and have her do a training montage for 3 weeks. You know what that is? That's Captain Buckles from Arrow. That's saying, oh, Laura Lance, just have her go to the local gym and take some evening boxing classes. And 3 weeks later, she's a crime fighter in the streets at night. It's like, no, it's not that easy. She spent her life in the lab. She spent her life becoming the most intelligent person in the MCU. And her fighting scenes in Black Panther were her pointing a gun at somebody and firing them. That's what her fight scenes in there were. So again, in Ryan Coogler, I trust. If this is what it is, he will find a way to make it work.
I'm telling you, you know how many visits it took for me to learn Street Fighter? 2 visits to Straw Hat. And I had that Dragon Punch down, baby. All right.
That's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, that's
the same thing. I think, Ray, you
Absolutely.
nailed it. It's the same thing. All right, what's
I let
next?
Ray win all the arguments for a reason, guys.
All right, what's next?
Logic is sound, Ray.
Tavita Mafi says, Destin Daniel Cretton, the director of Shang-Chi, will be the director of Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, which obviously we did an entire segment on, and I couldn't be happier about it. All right, what's next?
Okay, Dangerous Lee writes, Chris alluded to it earlier, but read more about
Talocan.
Talocan because it is fascinating.
I mean, I think, listen, if they're actually mining into actual mythology to bring all that in, that's going to work in its favor. So I think that's a pretty bright move on their
So excited
part.
to go to the library and get books on this. Like,
What's a library?
I love them.
Oh my God. All right, what's next?
So this is one from our daily viewer, Ron H. He says, celebrating my month anniversary.
Oh, great.
TJCS membership.
Aw.
Yay me. Why no news on Pickle My Foot at SDCC? Does this mean delays? LOL, you guys rock.
We're
Bring
waiting
on
for
the
D23.
Effects are not. Yep. We're debuting it. It's going to be a Disney Plus feature. D23, keep your eyes open. It's going to be a huge hit. All right. What's
And then
next?
I got one more from The People's Champ 2007. What's the point of Armor Wars without Tony Stark? Really interesting to see how they go about it.
Well, I mean, the absence of Tony Stark is the entire point of it. Like when they first announced Armor Wars, it's what happens when Stark's technology starts to get into the wrong hands, and Stark's not there to shepherd it anymore. So the whole thing is really the question is, what's the point of Armor Wars if Tony Stark is still there?
Yeah.
The fact that he's not there is kind of the principle of it. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And again, I think they're going to talk about it at D23, and I think we're going to get some big names announced with it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
And of course, you've got Rhodey, who has Stark technology and access to all of that.
Yep.
And
And at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, we've now found out that Sharon Carter's getting access to all that stuff too, and
Yep.
she's obviously a villain now. And
we have Secret Invasion coming, so there's lots of ways that the Stark technology
lots of cool
can
stuff.
get out into the
It
world.
must be easy to get access to that.
yeah, easiest thing in the world. All right, Now we're going to move on and hearing what you guys have to say, who've been sending in the super chats. So, Chris, what do we got in the super chats?
We are starting with some support from Russell Amador.
Thank you, Russell. Appreciate that, man.
From Harry, caught up with For All Mankind and saw they referenced the Wrath of Khan.
The Wraith of Khan.
The Wraith
That's
of
another
Khan. I went
movie.
Lord of the Rings with it. Was hoping that they somehow would end the show after season 10 with a Vulcan's First Contact cliffhanger, LOL. Season 2 was snubbed for an Emmy.
Rob, what do you think?
Well, For All Mankind had one of the great deep cut Star Trek references in season 1 to an episode called Wolf in the Fold, which I had to like rewind it and go, wait, did I just hear that? Because it was you had to know. And so obviously Ron Moore, one of the co-creators of For All Mankind, created
Battlestar
Galactica, but he also began his writing career in season 3 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. So he's a huge Star Trek fan. And I love the fact that in the For All Mankind universe, Star Trek exists as a TV show and movie series, which is pretty cool.
What's next?
From Suthius, Talocan is just a borough of Atlantis.
Yeah, it's like Jersey. It's just,
you go to Brooklyn.
right across the bridge. You get there in 20 minutes. All right, what's next?
For the bridge and tunnel folk.
From James Argenta, I understand why Disney did not want to put Prey in theaters after 2018's The Predator made 160.5 million on an 88 million budget. Also, MODOK is finally in the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, again, it is so unfortunate that last Predator movie was so bad, and again, it had so much promise, but yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. There is no way, like, if the conversation with starter was, we're going to make this new Predator movie called Prey, and we insist that it be a theatrical film, that conversation goes nowhere. They're like, no. No, because the last movie was a big failure, and there's a terrible taste in everybody's mouth right now about the Predator franchise. And there is, even mine before going in to see this movie. So, yeah, hopefully this movie will get an audience. I'm hoping it's going to get a lot of buzz, and I'm hoping it leads into Predator maybe returning to the big screen. All right, what's next?
Wait. Can we go back on that when he said MODOK? Remember, Rob, on our mailbag yesterday? I just want to apologize. I said I've heard it was Bill Murray playing him, but it might not be. So I just want to... Yeah.
All right. What's next?
From Michael Serda, I'm convinced the business decisions at Netflix are made by a rock, a penny, and a chip. Also, why was Mindhunter canceled? Right?
Well, okay, so there's a couple. There are a couple of specific reasons, like the creator, the famous filmmaker David Fincher. He was busy. Now, there was that too. But look, ultimately, here's the thing about Netflix. The model is it doesn't matter if people watch something. They need people to subscribe. And everybody who was going to subscribe to Netflix to watch Mindhunter already had.
Yeah.
That's the basic reason why a lot of big hit shows on Netflix get killed prematurely. Because like anybody who was going to subscribe to our channel for this show would have already time to cancel it and move on to new shows that'll get new subscribers. And that's an unfortunate reality. And maybe with them building in now ad-supported revenue, that might start to change. But the one exception has been Stranger Things. But that's it. All right, what's next?
But then sell those licenses to other people, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
like the damn Dark Crystal. Like, I just get angry thinking
I'm
about
so
that.
mad about it.
Yeah, me
And
too.
so
They
I
need
think
money,
about it
like-
once a week. I get really, really mad.
It just kills me.
For
They
a
did
company
that.
that needs money, I would be licensing out those IPs. Just me. I don't know.
All right, what's next?
From Al Renshaw. Rob, every time John and Chris bullies you, we don't bully him, we tease. Just make fun of Sailor Moon and also say that the original Highlander sucks.
But the original Highlander doesn't suck.
And Sailor Moon's adorbs.
Yes, it is.
By the way, did I show you Anne's Sailor Moon cosplay?
No.
It's great. I'll show it to you when the show's done. It's really great. It's really
Show
great.
it to them.
All right, what's next?
From Dave XP, my thoughts go to the VFX artists whose hard work and headaches are going to make Phase 5 and 6 possible.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this story the other day. And look, the reality is the problem really isn't Warner Brothers or Disney or Paramount. The problem is that there is a system in place that the effects houses themselves help to create where they put in the lowest bid possible. It's like any other tenure contracts, right? You put in the lowest bid possible, and now your company is obligated to do all the work for that low bid. And that means they have to work their artists to work 20-hour days. and to work 6.5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, and not see their families and all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, the problem isn't Marvel. They're part of the problem. They're absolutely part of the problem, but it's a systemic problem. And it's one that the whole industry is going to have to look at to try to fix. All right,
I will say this though, dude. They have plenty of time. Secret Wars, I expect Secret Wars to have the greatest superhero battles we've ever seen in history. And they got to get work on those effects now.
Pretty quick. They got to start getting on them pretty quick.
Get on it.
What's next?
From Carlos Sosa. Hey, all. You guys going to D23? I'm going to the Friday event. First time I went back in 2017. I'm predicting X-Men movie in Phase 6.
I'm going to try. I mean, I have not written to Disney yet to ask them for press credentials. So I will write to them, ask them for press credentials because I would like to be there. I was at the last one, and the last one was great.
It's so fun.
I want to go. So we'll see what happens. All right, what's next?
From Andy. Damn it, John, don't recast Chris. Hashtag justice for Chris.
Well, I mean, listen, it's the role is not there to serve the actor. The actor's there to serve the role.
Listen,
And,
with this little Pixar face, it's hard to buy me as a baddie.
It is
Vocally,
hard.
I can get there, but look at these eyes.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
full of wonder.
We need a darker villaina. We just need somebody darker. All right, what's next?
Give her mascara.
Give her mascara.
From Al Renshaw. Are you also excited about the Pokemon Squishmallow collaboration announcement? I definitely will be ordering those. What is this?
Okay.
What?
Let me take it from here. There's this craze called Squishmallow. I don't know what to call it.
I'm glad you're the one who's educating us on it then.
No, because one of
Just focus on your hand.
one of my friends fiancés actually collects these things, and there's a craze. They're like those little pillows.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we saw some of those at Comic-Con, didn't we?
Yeah. So I guess they signed
it's
with
cute.
Pokemon. That's going to be a big thing in that world or community. It's going to be a big thing.
I mean,
Yeah,
if I'm going to get
definitely.
Pokemon stuff, it's going to be action figures, cards, games, or like a Kirigumari, like a full onesie. I don't need a pillow.
That's going to be a moneymaker for sure.
All right, what's next?
From Luis Enrique de la Peña. I noticed that most of the projects for Phase 4 and 5 were shown or talked about previously. Do you think they'll show Phase 6 slate at D23?
Listen, I'll be really honest with you. The phase thing doesn't mean anything. Like I don't like. Forget the word phase. It doesn't matter. Forget phase. Phase is irrelevant.
We're going
Will
through
they
a
just
phase.
talk about new projects? Will they talk about new projects that we do not yet know about? Yes, I absolutely believe that. Whether there'll be one or two that actually drops in what we arbitrarily call Phase 5 or Phase, that's irrelevant. Yes, there will be new projects they have not talked about yet that will be announced there. There's going to be new casts. There's going to be new directors. Like, I think they're going to drop bombs at D23. I really, really do. So fingers crossed. All right, what's next?
From Russell Amador. Hey, John, huge Shang-Chi fan and was hoping to see him in a sequel sooner rather than later. Do you think we'll get a sequel before Avengers, or will we see him in the next Avengers film?
I think we're going to see him in another film, period, that's not Shang-Chi 2. Unless they make a Shang-Chi 2 and somebody else is directing it other than Destin. This movie does not come out for a couple of years, but this is the type of movie you work for 3 or 4 years on if you're a director. So clearly his dance, so either A, there's going to be a Shang-Chi 2 before that Avengers movie that's directed by somebody else, which is fine, or B, we'll see Shang-Chi pop up in another movie like an Unto Black Widow would pop up in Captain America movies or things like that. So I 100% believe we're going to see Shang-Chi before the next Avengers.
I still think at the very least you're going to get Shang-Chi like in a post-credit scenes in the Marvels.
Yep.
That's just my prediction.
I think so too.
Yep, that could absolutely be part of it. All right, what's next?
From Darth Ciano. Say what you will, but I am convinced that Trailer Park Boys have helped keep many subscribers for Netflix, especially from the Campea crew.
Trailer Park Boys, man, I'm telling you, that was, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who are fans of, why am I forgetting the name?
Letterkenny?
Of Letterkenny. That was the show that kind of paved the way for Letterkenny.
Absolutely.
So if you've never seen Trailer Park Boys, go and check out Trailer Park Boys. It's pretty damn good. All right, what's next?
From Jay Master, December 6th, 2021, The Hollywood Reporter broke news Marvel's doing Shang-Chi 2, and June 16, 2022, The Hollywood Reporter broke news Disney Plus Wonder Man series with Daniel Cretton.
Yes, but Marvel never said it. That doesn't mean that they were incorrect. It just could mean, like, that is why what will happen in Hollywood quite often is that there is a plan and then the plan changes. And this happens a lot. We just don't know about it because the studios never come out and talk about it until everything is 100% solidified. Now, it's very well could be that all that is still happening. Hard to imagine how at this point, with Destiny now being signed up for that. So remember, there is a difference. Sometimes a place reports something and people say, well, Warner Brothers said this. No, the Hollywood Reporter said they heard that that's going to happen.
From a reliable source.
And it very well could have been true at the time, but the reason that the studio never said it themselves officially is because it wasn't set in stone. So there is a very real possibility that when they reported that, that is what was going on and that is what they heard. But the reason Marvel never said anything about it was because it wasn't in stone and it shifted. Now, again, there's a lot of possibilities there. One could be right. The other could be right. Who knows? It'll all get shaken out in the wash. We'll find out soon enough. All right. What's next?
From Alex Martinez. Hello, Campea crew. Longtime fan since AMC Movie Talk.
Nice.
Love the show. I watch it every day.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Alex. Thank you for watching us for that long and coming along for the ride. And thank you for being here today. And thanks for supporting us, man. We appreciate that, dude. All right, what's next?
From Cinema Sauced. Hey, team, and the one true king, Aura. Nearing the end of Game of Thrones rewatch and do not understand the hate for the final season. I know you like it, John, but thoughts on why so much hate?
Listen, I am not going to presume to make an excuse for why somebody does or does not like something. Everything on the screen is art. Art is subjective. It hits us all in very different and unique ways. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, anybody who didn't like it only didn't like it because of this. Well, people didn't like it because they didn't like it. I, however, despite the fact that I think it was bullshit that they chose to make it so few episodes and they had to rush a couple of their elements an awful lot. Absolutely, I concur with that. I thought it was still brilliant. I thought it was fantastic. I thought they brought everything to its logical conclusion that they had clearly set up for years previous that a lot of people just were oblivious to. It set their all-time record for most Emmy wins, the final season such. But again, it's folly to try to come up with why didn't people like this? Well, they didn't like it because they didn't like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like some things that other people don't like. I dislike some things that other people do. You're the same. Rob's the same. Everybody in the room's the same. They didn't like it because they didn't like it because it didn't work for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. All right, what's next?
From J Master. Kevin Feige confirmed at Comic-Con Blade begins filming in October and Fantastic Four begins filming next year.
I didn't catch that part where he confirmed that Fantastic Four begins shooting next year. I mean, it would make sense because you're looking at once you start shooting, you're probably about 2 years away from it being released. So that would make sense. I mean, the Blade thing is a long time coming. That Blade thing is a long time coming. And really, it was 2 years ago that they announced the Fantastic Four thing. So that's kind of a long time coming too. All right, what's next?
From Harry. Have no faith in Eragon. Disney have the best IP in Hollywood and have consistently churned out the weakest shows of all the streaming platforms. Apple, Hulu, HBO shows in particular on another level.
I would say that's an oversimplification because one of my favorite things, a couple of my favorite things on streaming in the past couple of years have been Disney Plus things. WandaVision is a masterpiece. Mandalorian is fantastic. Ms. Marvel challenges WandaVision to me as the best. I still think WandaVision is the best thing they put out, but Ms. Marvel, right up there. But if you're talking overall medium, I can't disagree. If you take the overall general quality of the stuff that we got on HBO Max, of the stuff that we've gotten on Apple, of the series that we've gotten on Netflix, and then the series we've gotten on Disney Plus, despite the fact that they have got some incredibly shiny jewels that have been fantastic. Overall, I concur. Disney comes in last. Disney Plus comes in last out of that list. Out of a list of HBO, Netflix, Apple, Disney Plus, Disney Plus comes in last. I don't know, Rob, what do you think about that?
I would agree. I mean, the thing is, though, you have to remember that Disney Plus is catering to a family audience more so than the other. The others can lean heavily into much more adult-oriented subjects. Whereas I think when Disney Plus, now that they have more of a paywall and stuff, it's just a different, it's a different thing.
Yeah, but you know what, Rob? Rob, here's the good news. It's a new day.
It is
because there is a new day coming. A day where they take a Disney Plus show and they don't do this bullshit, idiotic 6-episode nonsense. We got She-Hulk coming. It's going to be 9 episodes. We got Daredevil Born Again coming with a proper 18-episode season. It could be the dawn of a new day. So right now, yes, they come in last in that. But I believe, Rob, it is the dawn of a new day, and we are going to see them ushered into a glorious new era. Fingers crossed.
I'm going to fall off my chair when they say, yeah, 18 episodes, but we're going with the Bluey method. 7 minutes each episode.
I mean, that somebody wrote me that
It's
saying,
gonna
yeah,
be-
Daredevil's going to be 18 episodes, but it's going to be 15
For
minutes
sure.
each episode.
It's going to be Quibi. They're going to go back to the
Gotta go
Quibi
to the
model.
Quibi
Quibi.
format. Viva Quibi. Bring back Quibi. Justice for Quibi.
Shout
All right,
out
what's
to
next?
Bluey.
Bluey. What's next?
Brandon Clark, with Dustin Creighton getting Kang Dynasty, do you think this means Shang-Chi is being set up to lead the Avengers, like the Russo brothers and Cap relationship?
Listen, I think Shang-Chi is a top 5 best MCU movie. I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man cannot be the leader of the Avengers. Shang-Chi, he's not a leader. I do not see Shang-Chi being the leader of the Avengers. He's one of my favorite characters in the MCU right now. Of course, being played by a good Canadian kid in Simu Liu. Good Canadian kid. But no, I don't see Shang-Chi being the leader of the Avengers. All right, what's next?
From Blake62, I was forced to watch Virgin River last night and found myself becoming invested. Help! Where's my Rambo DVD?
I'm not familiar with Virgin River.
I believe it's a kind of romance series that
Oh.
Netflix is doing.
Hey, listen,
It's fine.
Listen, I love all music except for country. Okay, I do not.
Same.
I have no problem admitting I do not like country music at all. But that doesn't mean there's not an odd, really delightful country song that I really like, even though I'm not the genre. The same is true of like movies. There's genres you may not be into, but that doesn't mean that one can't come along that really clicks for you, right? So as long as it's not dirt on my boots, then I'm fine. Like anything with that, and I'll give it a shot. But
I think we're really overlooking something our viewers said. DVD?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm
Yeah. And that's,
Rambo
that's
DVD.
coming from him.
Rambo's fine, but DVD?
Laserdisc.
Come on, bro.
Laserdisc, it's the way. Betamax. All right, what's next?
From Jay, watched Nope and I enjoyed it. Thought it had a Jaws type feel to it. Do you agree?
Yep.
Yeah, listen, overall, I enjoyed Nope. It just wasn't as good as I was hoping. I mean, again, I thought it was marked better than Us. Not as good, not nearly as good as Get Out. I thought it had a couple weaknesses, but overall, I enjoyed it. I liked it. To me, it's a win for Jordan Peele. It's a win. All right, what's next?
From Ricky Bizarro, it's interesting to me that a lot of people seem to expect large MCU revelations, ramifications in Black Panther 2. I feel this will be more of a personal film meant to honor Chadwick and tell a contained story.
I completely agree with you, Ricky. I mean, obviously, there is some massive expansion happening in the MCU with this, with
Namor.
Talocan, Namor, all that kind of. I mean, we are getting an entire new dimension of the MCU and the world that it inhabits in this movie. But I agree with you. I think that's probably going to be the limit of it. I think this is going to be a more personal story. This is going to be a, multinational political kind of thing with a lot of battles and a lot of wars. So I completely agree with you, Ricky. I think you're on the money. All right, what's next?
From Ulaton, have you seen Viola Davis and McKenna Grace's movie Troop Zero on Prime? It's a nice little film that will also fill your heart like Ms. Marvel.
With like Ms. Maisel. That would be
Yeah,
a totally
that's what I
different one.
started.
That's a different show.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest with you. I've not even heard of it.
It's a kind of Bad News Bears Girl Scout troop kind of thing.
Okay, that already sounds delightful.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. That sounds
But-
delightful.
yeah, like Troop Beverly Hills. Yeah.
God, that movie was.
I love True Beverly
Wait,
Hills.
I mean,
But aren't there
okay.
zombies in here or
It's
something?
okay.
I don't think in that one.
No, that's the
no.
one with Lupita Nyong'o.
Oh,
you're
okay.
thinking of the one with Lupita. Have you seen that one?
I haven't, no.
I can't remember that. There's literally this movie with Lupita Nyong'o, and I can't remember who the other one, where they take these girl troops. They have a girl troop that they've taken out in the wilderness when a zombie apocalypse breaks out.
Yeah.
Oh.
So-
Oh yeah,
Wait.
I remember that.
I can't remember the
haven't
name of
seen
that
it.
one. If anybody
Isn't
in the
that the
live,
girl with all the gifts? Was that?
No,
No.
that's a different movie.
Because that's a great book.
what was it called?
That's a
Little
great movie.
Monsters? Is that the one?
The Girl with All the Gifts rules.
Oh,
Would you be surprised to know I have that on Blu-ray?
Not at all.
I need to see that.
All
Love
right,
the
what's
book.
next?
From Mike Scott, favorite actor out of Dan Gleesack, Mike Hawk.
I'm not gonna be honest with you. I don't know who either of those two are. So can't answer that
they're
question.
probably part of
Unfortunately.
some show or something right now.
Yeah, and it
Rob.
was Little Monsters.
Okay, the name of that movie was Little Monsters you're talking about, but I'm not familiar with either of those two guys, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
From Mufasa. Who's to say Shuri did not learn to fight growing up along with her brother? We have not seen her really fight, but maybe she did not want to.
Because you got one of two things. You either dedicate your life the way T'Challa did to that, or you dedicate your life to becoming the smartest person in the MCU. So yeah, I don't buy that at all. All right, what's
It's your
next?
side hustle, John.
Side hustle. Because fighting's easy. Anybody can learn it in a day. It's super easy.
Maybe she does like a Matrix thing, and it's just like
She just downloads all the fighting techniques in her brain. Hey, I listen. That wouldn't be the most outlandish thing we've seen in an MCU movie, right?
I know Kung Fu.
Yeah. All right, what's
Street
next?
Fighter, baby.
From Dangerous Lee. Hi, gang. Watched Gray Man over the weekend. One of the best Netflix original films I've seen in a while. Cheers.
Well, I'm glad you liked it that much. I didn't. But I'm glad you did. I mean, again, that's the great thing about these movies, man. They all hit us in different ways. And like I said, remember, it's a very divided audience over it, right? Like the rating is right around 50%, which means half the people like it and half don't. And I'm very close to the middle of that. I didn't think it was very good, certainly not very memorable. I'm not going to be thinking about it 5 days from now. But if you liked it and had a great time with it, that's all that matters, man. I'm glad that you did. All right, what's next?
From Shurajon. As a Danush fan, I really hope we get a Lone Wolf spinoff.
Oh, if you're talking about the guy, like the character in Gray Man, there's a character in Gray Man called the Lone Wolf who doesn't have a big role in the movie, but in what he is in the movie, he's kind of the best part of the movie. He's actually really, listen, I'm with you. I would watch that spinoff. If that's the spinoff they're talking about, I will watch that. All right, what's next?
Can you scroll up a little bit?
That was the one we were on. We're on that one.
From Ismail Montoya.
Hello.
Guys, I'd like to think the Queen says, all my family was taken away because Shuri may be dead in the ancestral plane, bringing back Killmonger or someone else to be Black Panther. But Eric's a bad
No,
guy.
listen. Eric's not a bad guy. He is the height of evil. He, like many great villains in literature, there is something, he was wronged. And like Thanos, even at the core of his philosophy, there might be the seed of something noble, but he is a genocidal maniac.
Yeah. I mean, look at how many scars he has. How many people has he killed?
I mean, and you can say, hey, that was in battle, that was in fair fight. You can do all that, but his goal in Black Panther was genocide. He is evil. And even when they did What If, they couldn't get away from him being evil.
Right.
Right? He is a homicidal, worse than homicidal, genocidal. Where Ryan Coogler really drove the point home was in the first Black Panther movie, as Eric is talking about, we're going to go and we're going to kill all of them and we're going to kill their children. And we're going to, once he started going into that was Ryan Coogler trying to tell the audience, make no mistake, this is an evil person, a very evil person who, like a lot of great comic book villains and others, didn't start off that way. They had something, they were very, very wronged in their past. And that put them on that path, but that is where they are. So I don't allow, for me, I never allow Eric to enter that conversation for me, because that's like saying, I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I take that back. But anyway, no, it would be a bad idea. All right, what's next?
From Danito. Over under 25%. Nakia is pregnant in Black Panther too.
Ooh, I won't say 80%, but I'll go over 25. That's not a bad idea. I'm not even going to necessarily say over 50, but I'll say over 25%.
I will too. That's a good idea.
That adds to the emotional heaviness of it as well. If they did that, I think that'd be pretty cool. All right, what's next?
From Late Night Alum. Buttgate begins. Shuri, Nakia, or Killmonger. Bring on the film.
Yeah, from that one image again. Remember, I said yesterday that thigh looked way too thick to be Letitia Wright.
Yeah.
And maybe it isn't. Again, maybe like Rob was suggesting, maybe this is a movie where at different points of the movie, different people have that mantle and take it up, and maybe she's it at one point, but not at another. Who knows? All right, what's next?
From Suthius. Wong, our universe is on the edge of a precipice. Okay, Wong, what the hell do you know that others don't? Sorcerer Supreme? Why are you trying to recruit all these characters? What's the end goal?
Okay, so I let myself think about this way too much. So in the new She-Hulk commercial, of course, Wong comes through, hits that up. I think he's specifically talking about Abomination. I think he knows that for some reason, some way, the world is going to need Abomination. And I think that's why he's been training with them. We saw him in Shang-Chi with them. And Wong is like trying to press upon her because we find out in the trailer she's defending Emil, right? And he's impressing upon her why we need him freed. Now, again, this is pure ass speculation on my point, but I don't know, Rob, what do you think?
I love this idea because it shows that there's been a plan all along that just has not been revealed to us yet. Because we're seeing phase 4 has been all of these pieces moving around the board, big pieces, Celestials, the 10 rings, we just haven't seen, and I think we're going to find out quite soon where all this is headed.
All right, what's
I like
next?
this idea.
Alex Pitt, congrats on 300K subscribers, John. I've been watching you daily since 2014, and your success is well deserved.
Well, thank you so much. Again, listen, I've said this before, like in YouTube, the reality is subscriber numbers are not all that important. Like there are YouTube channels that have 3 times the subscribers that we have that we get way more views than.
Mm-hmm.
There are YouTube channels that have less subscribers than we do that get way more views than us. It's not the most definitive number. So that's why I mentioned on social media the other day that I said, listen, us crossing 200 million views, which we did a while ago, is the more significant milestone to me. But I've taken 3 YouTube channels to over 200,000 subscribers. I've never had one go over 3. And the fact that for the first time for me, this is the first YouTube channel that I've actually still been running that has gone over 300,000 subscribers. That makes it special to me. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Thank you to everybody, all of our subscribers for doing that. It means a lot to us. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it a lot. All right, what's next?
From Dragon10, 300K subs, let's go. Love you guys.
Thank you so much, Dragon10. Appreciate that, man. All right, what's next?
From Aaron Wicker, Army Hammer has a new cooking show set in prison. He's calling it Baking a Murderer. He's baking himself.
I remember when the first stuff came out about him, I showed a picture I loved, this picture of me and Army Hammer together. And I brought it up. We brought up the picture. I said, now that I think about it, why does he look like he's looking at me as if he thinks I look delicious? And I got a lot of people going, too soon, John, too soon. I'm like, okay, sorry, whatever. But yeah, anyway, I really liked him. All right, what's next?
From Stubble McShave, saw a Critical Role clip where a NPC is called Mike Hunt. Hilarity ensued. I may change my name to hear you say Mike Hunt says, just to mess with you.
Yeah, I'm not going to, I guess you were going with that. Yep. That's cool. No, we're not going to go there. All right, what's next?
From Enzo the Baker. Hey, John and crew. You said you don't like 3D, but I was never clear on why you aren't a fan. Also, any 3D movies you still enjoyed, like Avatar 3D?
3D is a pointless, useless gimmick. That has never improved any movie that I've ever watched. Look, the main thing to me is this, as I've always said this. You have all these hundreds and thousands of artists and creators who create these beautiful, gorgeous images that we see on screen. Then we walk into a movie theater and the first thing we do is we put tinted film over our eyes. And I'm sorry, even with Avatar, which is great, maybe the best 3D example of all time.
Yeah.
The picture never looks as good when you put 3D glasses on. It never looks as good. It just doesn't. You're putting tinted film over your eyes to do it. Now, I've always said I might get more into 3D once they come up with the technology that does not require glasses.
You don't think it looked cool with like the Hubble movie where we were like in space and we were getting those shots of like the documentary stuff? You don't even like those?
Listen, there can be moments where it can become useful and cool, but again, like I remember, I think you were with me when we went to go see the one Thor movie, and they made us watch it in 3D.
In all versions.
Yeah, and they made us watch it in 3D. And it was just frustrating to me that the first thing I had to do, like the Thor movies are very colorful and very whatever, and I'm throwing tinted film over my eyes to watch it.
Sucked.
It's like
that one sucked real bad.
It is a 3D to me, and I'm only speaking for myself. 3D has never made a movie better. It just hasn't. I mean, the first time I saw Avatar, I saw it in 3D, and I remember thinking, okay, this is really good. But then the second time I saw Avatar wasn't in 3D, and I realized, oh yeah, I didn't enjoy that any less without it being in 3D. Again, I'm only speaking for myself and my own personal experience. Yours may be different, but you just asked me why I feel that way. That's why I feel that way. All right, what's next?
From Cali Royal 92. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Ray and Rob, I started for All Mankind 2 weeks ago, and I'm already caught up.
Wow.
Love it. We should start a movement. #KillDanny trending.
But then who will you hate? If you kill Danny, who do you have left to hate?
That is the problem there. I hate him so much, but if he's gone, then what happens?
Yeah, what happens then?
I
you know what?
can't speak to that.
Game of Thrones did it. You thought you hated someone more than you could. Sorry,
But then they had to replace him
than
quickly
anyone
with somebody else you hated just as
And then,
much.
yeah, so that's what they do.
Here's the thing I would say. For All Mankind is not a show where the hatred of a human being is rewarded. It's a show about, it's an aspirational show ultimately that is about redemption and sacrifice. So as much as I hate Danny Stevens and want him dead, that's not what the show does.
All right. What's next?
From Bobby Jackson. So we know how the world reacted to Wakanda. I wonder how it will react to Namor's underwater nation and then to the war between these nations.
I mean, we haven't really, this is the thing, like you talk about a lot, Rob, that we haven't even seen the world react yet to Celestial showing up, right?
Right.
We haven't really seen the world react to Wakanda. Like for this entire time, all of our worlds exist. They've been this super advanced civilization. We thought they were shepherds and farmers, and they have weaponry that could wipe out the rest of the world. It's going to be interesting to see that now they got to deal with that and another civilization.
I mean, I hope that in Wakanda Forever, the one thing I do want to see is them going back to that neighborhood in Oakland.
Yes.
Where they open their outreach, the Wakanda.
I want to see that.
They have to show that.
I agree.
And they have to show what has happened in that neighborhood.
Yep. I want to see that.
Gentrification.
All right. What's next?
From Luis Enrique de la Peña, do you think it's feasible they'll release both Avengers films in 2025? They would have to start filming next year, right?
Well, I mean, that's the plan. I think one is to come out in May and one is to come out in November.
Yeah.
So they're planning. And so would they have to start shooting next year? Yeah, I think it would be safe to say that they would probably get the ball rolling sometime in 2023. I mean, you could shoot in the first quarter of 2024 and still make it. But I would guess sometime next year they'd probably start shooting.
Well, did you guys just say both those Avengers movies come out in the same year?
Yeah, 6 months apart.
6 months apart.
There's no Phase 5 Avengers. There wasn't in Phase 4. There will be 2 in Phase 6.
That's crazy. Okay.
All right, what's next?
From Morgan Holmes sending in a $50 super chat.
Oh, thank you, Morgan. That's incredibly generous, man. Thank you so much for supporting us on that level.
First, I would like to say to John, you have a good thing going here. This show is rock solid. You are the architect.
Well, thank you.
And now for Rob. I'm sending you the offer. I want you to be the narrator of my wedding. Oh, by the way, it'll be in Greece.
If you're bringing me to Greece, I'm in.
Yeah, you want to
And if you want to do it over Zoom, I'm happy to do that too.
There you go. You got your but seriously, thank you so much
Slide
for that.
into
We
his DMs.
appreciate that. And by the way, congratulations on your upcoming nuptials. That's incredibly exciting for you. We hope it's a great day, and maybe even part of our show can be there and be a part of it. Keep Rob in the loop.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
mean,
thanks
how
again
cool
for
is
that,
it to get
Morgan.
married in Greece?
That would be pretty. Anne has gone to Greece
Like 2 times.
like 2 times in the last couple of years. Like every year, like one of my gifts to her every year is to pay for her to go to some big trip with a couple of her friends. And they've done a few things, but they've gone to Greece a couple of times because they love it so much.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I've gone to Athens and Mykonos.
Have you? I've never been. I would
I've
love
never
to go
been to
sometime.
Greece either.
All right,
Except
great.
I'm going for this wedding, apparently.
Apparently, you're going to be narrating a wedding. All right, what's next?
From Luke Brown. Breaking news, X-Men won't show up until Phase 7 because contracts with Fox state that they have to use the same original actor. The contract expires in 2025.
Well, we talked about that a little bit earlier, and I don't believe that. I mean, let me be very clear. That is possible. But number one, I have never heard of that being contracts like that ever being in any comic book movie ever. So I find it unlikely that that's the reason. I really do. But again, it is feasible and it is possible, like as Rob pointed out. So we'll see. All right, what's next?
From Tevin Como, will having the X-Men universe join the MCU water down the concept of superheroes in the universe? Everyone will have powers now, not just the Avengers.
Oh, Tevin, we're already there. I mean, just look at the trailer for She-Hulk. Everybody has superpowers now.
Yeah.
And again, that has been my big concern as the superhero cinematic universes continue to grow, is that there's no such thing as the fantastical and the mundane anymore. The fantastical in the MCU is now mundane. It's Tuesday. Oh, that guy has superpowers. There's nothing special about that. Everybody's got superpowers now. And so that's happened long before the X-Men showed up. So, I mean, there's that.
You have superpowers? You have superpowers?
Yeah, everybody has superpowers now. Every neighborhood has somebody with
Oprah
powers.
giving out
And,
Yeah,
superpowers.
Oprah Power.
Yep,
Oprah's giving
Oprah's
us-
Look
giving
under
them
your
out.
seats.
Give them out. All right, what's next?
From Abraham Ruiz, had my first experience at Alamo Draft House with Nope, and it was great. Such a classy theater compared to my local one back home. Definitely added to the feel of the movie as well, which was also great.
Now, just to be very open and honest, I have an issue with Alamo Drafthouse. I have a real problem, particularly with the owner of the company and all that kind of stuff. That said, it's a great movie watching experience. They really are. Alamo Drafthouses, I've only been to the one in LA a couple of times. I've been to the one in Austin. They are very good movie going experiences. As much as I have some personal issues with their business and their owner and stuff like that, I'm going to be objective and say they are a very, very good movie going experience. If you have a chance to check it out and you're a movie fan, do check it out.
Those fried pickles slap.
All right,
So
what's
good.
next?
All right, here we go.
Oh,
From Russell Amador, Jane master Thor abilities. There's hope for Shuri.
yeah. If Shuri gets given a magical alien hammer that has an incantation put on it, fine. That's great. See, that they built in the explanation for that in the Thor universe. When Odin breathes onto it and puts the incantation on it, that whoever possesses this hammer shall possess the powers of Thor. And the ability to wield that is probably just a part and parcel part of that. Clearly, without Mjolnir, Jane can't do the things that she did. But with Mjolnir, so if you want to build in this fantastical Norse god incantation and spell work into it, and you know what? Ryan Coogler very well. Bast may appear and say to Shuri, "You are my chosen." Put her god hand on Shuri's forehead and transform Shuri. Hey, listen, there's your explanation. So yes, but just saying flat out, well, Jane was able to do it. Well, because they narratively built in why Jane was able to do that. If they built something like that into this movie, rather than saying, Shuri took some night fighting classes.
A training montage.
She's a top 5 world combat artist now. That's going to be bullshit. But if they build in a story as to how that actually happens, and again, Bast was in Moon Knight, where at least the imagery of Bast was there, right? So if Bast is actually there and does something like that, or some other story hook like that, then they could be onto something. All right, what's next?
From Tim Platt, Campea about a year ago. I think this multiverse stuff ends after Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah.
Feige, you know what? I'm going to multiverse even harder. LOL, just kidding. Welcome to the multiverse saga, John.
Yeah, listen, for a long time, I really, really thought that Doctor Strange 2, again, nobody ever told me this. This is just my theory, that Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was going to be the way they shut down multiverse. Now, of course, we found out before Doctor Strange 2 came out, because we were at CinemaCon, and Kevin Feige came out and said, for these phases, we're really diving into multiverse. And it's like, well, there goes that theory. I mean, clearly, there's going to be... Now, Secret Wars, now, I think most people will agree now that Secret Wars will probably be the end of multiverse. Yes. Now everybody will probably agree with that. But yeah, one of my theories about Doctor Strange was that they were going to close up the multiverse there. But clearly, Kevin Feige had other plans.
His exact words were, "We've been holding this tool in our back pocket called the multiverse," or something like that.
Yeah.
And they've been waiting to use it. So we're going to see it sprinkled all over the spaces.
Yeah, at least until Secret Wars. Yeah.
You know, the end of the Infinity Saga was the blip. Thanos snapped his fingers. Everybody disappeared. What if the end of the multiverse is the end of superheroes and it's the dawn of the mutant age?
Maybe. Yeah.
Chris is like, okay.
They can come up with ways to do it. All right, what's next?
From Parker Thwips. Are we seeing mutants in She-Hulk? Like that shapeshifter? I don't think a serum will give you that.
But listen, in the world of the comic book things, eating a frog that accidentally hopped once into a puddle that had some weird chemicals in it. So you're out at a French restaurant, you decide, I'm going to have some frog legs. But that frog was in a puddle where some toxic rain fell into that puddle, and that will give you superpowers. In the world of the MCU, a lot of different things can give you superpowers. But yes, I think, Rob, you might have mentioned this the other day, that one of the things they could say is a part of that is responsible for the proliferation of people with superpowers could be mutation. I mean, Ms. Marvel is, so maybe there could be others. So that could be an explanation.
What happens to a frog when it gets hit by lightning?
The same thing that happens to everything else.
They become mutants.
Greatest comedy moment in the history of comic book movies, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that was so bad. All right, what's next?
And then we're ending with some support. My Comic Planet, Stephen Darren Holt, and John Wicked. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you guys. My Comic Plan's like $10 just to be a tip. Thank you guys for all that. And guys, first of all, were there any other member chats that came in?
Nope.
We're good. All right, guys. That'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all of you guys who sent in those super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for your support. Don't forget, guys, to come on back and join us for the John Campea Show again tomorrow. We got a mailbag coming a little bit later today. Keep your guys' eyes open for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're over 300,000 now. Click the thumbs up button, leave a comment below, and we'll see you again tomorrow. So for everybody in the room, Robert Meyer Burnett, Chris Carr, Ray Ora, producer Jonathan Voico, and myself, John Campea, until next time, my friends, bye-bye.